What's up, listeners? Welcome to Predator vs. Movie.
Whose voice is that?
Is that Rocket?
I'm trying to do. What does Rocket sound like?
Well,
the
it's
freaking Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm Alex.
I'm Peter.
I'm Aiden.
I'm not doing the voice anymore.
Yeah,
this is a podcast where we discuss and review the latest movie releases. We're going to start off with a non-spoiler review before diving into a deep discussion of the film. Then we're going to ask the most important question: would this movie be better if the alien from Predator was in it? This week, we are finally going to be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 after several weeks of anticipation.
Much build-up.
More build-up than we've ever done before. Before we get into it, we have some news for you guys.
We sure do.
I'm
I'm just going to be ad-libbing on top of everything you say the whole time.
Barry Keoghan has unfortunately left the film Gladiator 2 with Paul Mescal
To be replaced
and Denzel
by
Washington
the guy from White Lotus Season 1. The little
guy?
brother from White Lotus Season 1. The guy
that
who
guy?
like sleeps on the beach. It's that guy.
Oh.
Don't know him. But
He was good in the White Lotus, but like that's kind of a downgrade. Sorry to the White Lotus guy, but I liked Barry Keoghan. And so we're speculating that perhaps it could be that he's leaving for Eternals 2. We don't know.
I don't know for sure. I told the other guys this, and I had seen this. I don't know if it's true. That's hilarious if it is, and pretty sad.
Do you think they're actually doing Eternals 2 though? Like,
how does that even fit on the timeline?
That's my bigger concern. Like, it might happen, but I don't. When are they filming Gladiator 2? Isn't that soon?
I'm more just in like a twisted kind of way want it to be true.
Wait, what? Was that fake news? Oh my god.
I saw it and I projected my hopes and wishes.
My god, are you kidding me?
Well,
I don't know. It could be true.
It's because it's funny, and also then you have more reason to hate the MCU because it took something valuable from you.
Buddy, oh my god. I thought you were like 100%. You know that.
No. I said three times I don't know. I literally
Bro! My god, oh my god.
He was very clear he did not actually know. But that's very sad. At least we'll always have Paul Mescal in that movie until he joins.
Until he drops
Fantastic
out to be
Four.
Captain Fantastic. Yeah,
No, he's gonna be Human Torch.
Oh, yeah.
Denzel Washington's gonna be Galactus. I'm actually pretty sure that wasn't there a news? I thought there was a rumor where he had been asked and he said no because that's fucking stupid as shit. Can you imagine Denzel Washington as Galactus? That's fucked.
Yeah.
Anyways, in the past couple of weeks when we've been off, we've had some trailers. First up from today, fresh off the trailer park. And I think you're waiting.
Vroom, vroom. Sorry. We're in the trailer park. My bad.
Kind of rusty here. Kind of a rusty trailer park.
Hey,
get some
haven't oiled it up in a while.
For them trailers. Anyways, today, hot off the press, we got first trailer for Killers of the Flower Moon. Martin Scorsese's next feature is going to be 3 hours and more. Amazing.
Is it getting a theatrical release or no? Is it just?
Yes,
I
it actually
believe
is.
it is. Yeah,
exclusively in theaters.
Sick.
Exclusive.
Until it's not.
Until
it's
it's
not.
Only in theaters forever till the end of time.
Until of course it
they
isn't
take it out of
anymore.
theaters. It is in fact an Apple TV, an Apple original or whatever they call them. And so it will ultimately make its way to the platform. But it stars Leonardo DiCaprio and some other familiar faces: Rob De Niro, Jesse
Brendan
Plemons,
Fraser, the whale himself,
other people. And can you see the wolves in this picture? Am I right?
Yeah, some great shots, some great looking shots in this trailer. I will say that.
I watched it on my phone, and I'm excited. This trailer, I should probably watch it on a bigger screen than that. But it looks, even on my phone, I could see the wolves in the picture, and I was very excited. That last shot, when everyone's turning, the wide shot of all the people turning, can you see the wolves? I was like,
that's sick.
He's back. My boy,
Yeah.
Marty's back.
And did you see the quote he had recently where he's like, I feel like I've gotten to the point where the world has just opened up to me and I have so many more stories to tell, but unfortunately I'm going to die soon. Like, oh my god, why would
That
you
is
say
so
that?
sad. Such a sad quote, to be honest.
That's depressing.
Yeah. But hey, about
Well,
the trailer,
I don't know.
though, so
Yeah, I don't know how
initially,
to come back from that statement. Thanks, Aiden. You've kind of killed the tone here.
Sorry.
I'll let Peter take it away, though.
So I initially thought this is gonna be like a cowboy western. So I expected Leonardo DiCaprio to be a cowboy. but then the trailer was talking about all like, you know, American people taking lands away from the indigenous folks. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Where are the cowboys at? And then the trailer finished. I was very confused, and I watched it again. So I was like, okay, I get it now. I see what they're doing.
Okay.
Cool movie. Anyway, I just thought I'd toss that in there.
Peter pushes play in the trailer and is like, yeah! Can't wait to see some cowboy action.
What the hell is going on here?
Wait, where are the cowboys?
Can you spot the cowboys in this
This is a picture.
Peter unfortunately could not see the cowboys.
Yeah.
Speaking of cowboys, we got a trailer for The Creator, nothing to do with cowboys.
Dude, how is that
Or
cowboy?
Tyler.
Oh my
From Rogue One's own, I don't know his name.
Tony Gilroy, is that
Gareth?
the fella?
No, it's the other guy. It's the Tony Gilroy. I'm pretty sure he's a writer or something. This
It's
guy's
Gareth
the
Edwards.
writer. Yeah.
From Rogue One's own, Gareth Edwards. We'll just cut that other bit where I didn't know
Yeah.
his name. It's Rogue One 2. Rogue 1 2. And
Nice.
it stars Denzel Washington's son, John. I remember his name. And Gemma Chan. And it's AI is bad. We know this, but now
But are
it's
they?
a movie. It's really good timing, I have to say.
Yeah.
Like
It's very
with all the
interesting
AI
for sure.
shit, I cannot believe that.
Do you think we're
timing
gonna
is
see
immaculate.
a resurgence of AI movies? Like there are a bunch from like the 2000s and stuff when like the internet was like really starting to pop off. Do you think we're gonna see more of those going forward?
I think it's going to be
Cycle?
very interesting because, well, I know you guys are probably less attuned to this than I am, but the creator of OpenAI, which is like one of the largest AI platforms right now, he just I don't think he testified, but like he basically presented a bunch of information about AI to the Congress in the U.S. about how AI should be regulated, how the AI might impact our lives, etc. I just thought it's really crazy how that presentation and this trailer came up basically in the same week, and we're really like in the era where AI is becoming, instead of from just like a very limited thing, you know, just like used by science and really going into like a, you know, like everyone can use it now. Everyone has access to AI, and everyone life is going to be impacted by AI in one way or another in the future. So
Everyone can see what movies would look like if they were directed by
by
Wes
oh my god,
Anderson.
these Wes Anderson
Oh,
AI
man.
posts, like initially I was like, okay, this is interesting.
It's a plague.
But then
The
it started
plague
like,
of AI
it's like
Wes
Wes Anderson
Anderson.
does Star Wars. Oh my god, yeah. That was it was.
Twitter has really become just like endless amounts of quote tweeting the same 3 tweets.
Yeah.
Like they're all like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah, because recently
What's-
it's like, what's the one moment in Fast and Furious where the movie
Yeah.
departed reality, and I see that across my timeline
Yeah, it's
all
just
the
like
I've seen that a
time.
million times.
You'll see, yeah, it'll be one of those questions, and then like every single day there's a new one, and then
Yeah.
that's my whole feed. It sucks.
Yeah.
Anyways, I bet the creator was more interesting than the testifying in Congress bit.
Yes, I just thought I'd
anyways.
throw that context in there.
It's
JDW
interesting.
tries to save a robo baby. Cool. I'm excited. It looks cool. We
I
got
think
a
cool too.
trailer.
I think it's just
It's good to see an original sci-fi movie. That's very cool.
Absolutely,
Yes, I agree with you.
I 100% agree with you. And also, like visually, the movie looks very interesting too.
That's
And
cool.
also, I think it's just very interesting how so many movies these days and like just like content or entertainment have just pivoted into the child extraction genre. Like we have Mando, we have Last of Us, and now we have
Extraction.
the creator. We have Extraction 1 and 2. It's just like
Chris
so many
Hemsworth
movies like, oh my
Extraction.
god. You thought it's gonna be like a massive conflict and it's like, okay, you gotta save the kid.
We are really in a dad movie era.
I
have to
know,
say.
it's crazy.
And this is yet another dad movie era that we will be discussing today. Speaking of dad movies, Dune 2, the ultimate dad movie.
How is that
Yeah,
a
it's great.
dad movie? Oh
Yeah,
my god.
it's for dads. Come on, it's a dad movie. No, we got the first trailer for Dune 2 or Dune Part 2. Yep, looks great. I'm really excited for this. More sci-fi for me. I'm big sci-fi.
I'm big sci-fi.
I'm big
Big on
sci-fi.
big balls butlers. He is.
We got Austin. We
Balls.
got Austin Butlers too. Oh, that's what you
I
mean.
meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought you were just talking about a different butler that was in the movie. Like
No,
a butler character.
Alfred Pennyworth is actually in
Yeah.
Dune 2. He's crossing over. Yep. It looked
I think
good.
it was great.
We saw that trailer a while ago, so I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys really remember that one. Fair enough.
I think it's just exciting. Like I'm in a mood where I'm gonna see the movie regardless. So
Yeah, same.
I'm gonna try to pull an Aiden on this one where I consume least amount of content possible, so I can go into it with like just not knowing anything. I read the book, so I sort of know what happens. But
I'm going to consume the least amount possible. I know exactly what is going to happen. But besides that, besides the entire plot, I'll go and buy it.
No, I'm
That's
excited
great.
for it.
I'm
Really
excited.
proud of
It
you
looks
for that.
fantastic. Yeah.
I love your
Nothing more to say,
restraint.
to be honest. Yeah.
I'll remind you that I have not read the book, so I might actually do that. But
Ooh.
anyways, we got there's another trailer we could talk about from another auteur we haven't seen from in a little bit. Yorgos Lanthimos, if I'm not mistaken, had a trailer for his new film Poor Things, which is a riff on the old Frankenstein's monster, not to be confused with Frankenstein. That story with that thing. Anyways, it stars Emma Stone and Willem Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo, not as the Hulk. Nice to see him doing some other things. I really like Mark Ruffalo. Side
I like
note.
him too.
I like him in Spotlight. I haven't seen that one in the
Zodiac.
episode again. Zodiac, yes. Zodiac.
he's good in
Eternal
Zodiac.
Sunshine, he's in that one.
Yeah.
Is he actually in Spotlight, or am I mixing that up?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
You're
good,
right.
good. And he's in. There was this film in 2019 called Dark Waters. He was in that. It was good. Anyways, good to see him back. It looks kind of like a fantastical. I don't know. Like it has a very unique visual style to it, and I'm very intrigued by it.
I feel like it's using CG in a really unique way, and that's interesting to see.
Yeah, and it's almost like surreal, I think. It's kind of like, what if Wes Anderson did Frankenstein Monster?
Shut up!
Just a little
Stop!
bit. Anyways, last trailer we could talk about. There was a new trailer, I think it was today, for a film I've been hearing about from some festival called Theater Camp. And it looks kind of like an indie type film, but it's got some big players in it. Ben Platt's in it. Dear Evan.
You see the guy that was in the terrifying? Oh yeah, the terrifying high school movie.
He's not playing a terrifying CGI monstrosity. He is in fact playing his own age, as far as I could tell. And he's actually playing one of his own people. Theater people. He's playing a theater person. It also has Ayo Edebiri, who I think I've yet to see in anything, but I've seen her interview stuff, and I find her quite charming. So I'm excited to see her in that. And the girl from Shiva Baby. Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
Shiva Baby. Oh,
That's what the Rachel Sennett, right?
It's not her though. It's her love interest or like ex love interest in Shiva Baby is in theater camp. Anyways, theater camp is like that's what the title is. It's basically a theater camp and putting on a production and just kind of like that world, which is I've never been to a theater camp, but I definitely am the type who would find themselves at a theater camp. So I think I'm gonna really like that film. Personally, I don't know. Did you guys see that trailer?
I did not. This is the only trailer I did not see.
Actually, this trailer, funny story. So it popped up on a timeline, and I was like, "Oh, theater camp, boring movie, gonna skip." And then you retweeted it, and it's like, "This is the exact movie I want to see." I was like, "Okay, now I have to watch this." And I actually really enjoyed the trailer. It looks like a really like lighthearted, but also like because like it's probably kids in their teenage years with a bunch of somewhat irresponsible adults to see. I feel like it's going to be one of these movies where it's like you tell some pretty serious stories through the lens of like an innocent kid or like pretty carefree adults. Like it's comedic but also very emotional and has a gut punch coming at some point. But it looks cool. And the guy from American Vandal is in it, I think.
Which guy?
I recognize his voice right away. Like the guy playing the meathead is like,
who ate
Jimmy
my Tatro?
Who ate my gummies?
No, I actually really like that. So Aiden, you haven't seen the trailer,
show.
but there's a guy who seems like he's not supposed to be there. I don't know what the context is, but it seems as if like an outsider has joined this camp for some reason, and he's like one of the counselors. And so it's great because it's one of those like you're probably going from his lens and experiencing this wacky world of theater people and theater kids from this guy who's like, yo, where's who took my CBD gummies? That's what
I looked up. It is Jimmy Tatro, the guy from American Vandal. Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Dude, his
yet,
voice is so iconic.
That's one of the best Netflix shows. Like
I saw a trailer for it and I thought it looked really funny. But that is it for our trailer park. We can shutter the gates on the trailer park, not the theater park.
Dude, we're close to the night, bro.
That's the gates closed.
Anyways, we watched a movie. Some of us
did watch
more recently than others. And can you tell us a little bit about this movie, and maybe we'll guess what it is?
Sure. So it was directed by James Gunn. It was written by James Gunn. It was starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Pom Klementieff, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Will Poulter, Sean Gunn, other people too. That's a lot of cast. Cinematography, Henry Brom. And budget budget of $250 million, and it has currently a box office of about $542.6 million.
Damn.
Can you guys guess what it is?
Yeah,
I'm gonna say
Blackberry. It's definitely Blackberry.
The Suicide Squad.
You might be mistaken.
Yeah.
But in fact, I think we did watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, that's crazy! You're right. You're actually correct. Yeah.
Now with that segment out of the way, we can get to our classic game, Predacritic. There is a website, don't you know, on the internet called Metacritic, and they tabulate critics' scores or ratings of a movie out of 100, and they average it.
Beep, burp, burp, burp. That's them being tabulated.
It's the calculator sounds. Great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. So they tabulate the scores out of 100. Yeah. If it gets 60 or above, it's green. If it's 80 or above, it's must see. If it's like 60 to like 45 or something, it's yellow. And if it's below that, it's red. So the three of us, are gonna guess where Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 lands in this metric. I'm currently rolling the wheel to see who goes first. And why is it still rolling? It's not stopping. And it's Peter. Peter is in fact going first to guess who the score of this movie.
Yo, that's pretty shite, isn't it?
I really want to go last.
I don't remember the movie. It would be real shy if I have to do the synopsis. So I'm trying to get it right. I'm gonna go for a really safe 75.
Really safe 75.
I don't think that is safe, to be frank with you. Actually,
Yeah?
Interesting.
If I'm to be candid with you,
I don't think it's in the 60s.
I don't. I
think you want to rethink that statement.
I did roll the wheel again. I spun it, and I am going next. This one is tough because I have a particular opinion on this movie, and I know that reception has been mixed, but kind of tending towards positive, which I found a bit interesting. This one might stump me. I actually... I'll go with my gut, though. I'll stick with... Here we go. I'll go with the 70.
Really?
I honestly have no idea.
I genuinely think this will be in the 60s, but I don't want to have to summarize this movie. I'm going 71.
Coward! You should pick
Playing it
60, bro.
safe. Boo.
Because then if
Okay.
it's... Well, actually, no, I don't need it. It's not going to be above 75. Oh, whatever. I'm 71. Yeah, 71.
Sorry, just... do you want to play some music while I do this?
Yo, you got some elevator music sound, Aiden?
Yeah, that's what I said, music.
Do 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 do.
I have found it. I just want to keep listening.
Do 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 do.
So actually, I have all the scores for the movies in front of me, so this is interesting.
Awesome.
So I'll reread those scores.
Do it.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 received a 76. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If that one got 76, there's no way this one got like near that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, this is the thing. Like, I don't know what the general reception for this movie is. I know
The
what
critical
I think.
reception was not super positive.
Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So first 76. 2 flipped those numbers, and it got a 67.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Can you remind me of your scores? It was 70, 71?
1
And 75. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 got a 64. It is the lowest of the franchise. I win. Peter, you lose. Aiden, you should have gone with your gut, and you probably could have clutched this one.
I know, I was so sure, but I like really did not want to summarize this movie.
We are probably having the worst possible person to summarize this movie.
Yeah, but if I guessed what I actually thought, it still would have been Peter. So
Yeah, no, I know. 64 feels right for me.
That feels right for me too.
That feels like
I probably
agree.
like this movie more than that, but I don't know if it's a better movie than that. If that makes
Interesting.
sense.
Well, now that we have finished Predacritic, we will get into our non-spoiler reactions. As the winner of Predacritic, I will go first, followed by next closest Aiden, followed by Peter. Okay, so I've seen this movie twice now. I did see it a bit late. I didn't see it on opening weekend because I was abroad, and I just couldn't find a time to...
Where exactly? Where specifically?
I'm
were
not
you?
doxing
The
myself in the past. What if there's a time traveler who's listening to this podcast and then finds me in the past and kills me? I'm not playing games here.
Not messing with that.
No, so I was traveling abroad, couldn't find time, but I eventually saw it, and then like it was wherever it was. Let's just say it was a rainy day. And so you know, we weren't gonna do anything outside, so I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna go see this movie. And this is actually a great time. I forgot I was gonna tell this story. I was in Amsterdam. We can just say where I am
Nice.
now.
Yeah.
And so first of all, this is like very strange theater setup. They don't have regular concessions. It's more like a Scoop and Way or like a grocery store. The popcorn is in like the opposite of
Like
a fridge. It's in the opposite of a fridge. So you open the door and it's hot, and there are popcorns sitting there, and you take one, and there's like
That's
a
fun.
wall of popcorns. It's all bottled drinks. There's candy in like scoop, and you literally weigh it. There's a thing of Ben and Jerry's. There is a Starbucks, but it is a self-serve Starbucks. I did not investigate close enough or take a picture. I probably should have, but there was like literally everything. Anyways,
That sounds
so
cool.
that was concessions. Very weird. I didn't really pay attention to the ticket I bought. It was really based on the timing, and it was like, great, there's one at this time slot. I'll just see it. It was 4DX, and I was like, I don't really know what that means, whatever. It was literally a 4D movie. Have you ever been to the Bugs Life thing in Disney World?
No.
Okay, so if anyone's listening knows, the Bugs Life thing is like where like the seat like fucking pokes your butt and there's like things spraying at you and water.
Oh.
I watched the movie like that. I didn't know these existed in the real world. I thought these were only at theme parks as like novelty things.
Yeah.
Like I've seen Shrek, like there was a Shrek thing at Universal that does this too, but it was literally 4D the whole time. Probably the most exciting bit was before the movie starts, they preview what is going to happen with a filmed kind of like short, I guess, but it's not really anything. But it's 2 minutes of just like showcasing everything this theater does, and your seat, like compared to the D box we're used to, the seat is like really going all over the place, like you're like holding on for dear life. There's smoke, like it like smoke spraying you with water, but it's more like dripping from the ceiling. The ending is like confetti comes down. Also, like there's things that poke you in the back. And so like anytime someone gets punched in the movie, I'm getting punched by my chair. It was wild. But I actually like grew to like be fine with that. It was more the kids who were having like a birthday party clearly or something in the front row. They would not shut the fuck up. So I had a very interesting, to say the least, movie experience. And then I saw it again yesterday.
Dude, how much was the ticket? That sounds
So
like
much money.
bad.
So much money. My 3D glasses cost €2. I didn't even know, like, why did I have to pay for something extra that I needed anyway?
Wait, do you get to take it with you?
And they're the same cheap shit that you get at home. Like, I brought it home and I looked at them side by side because I was like, I'm not going to throw out the €2 3D glasses. So now I'm going to use my €2 3D glasses that are not different from the ones we have for free, but I'll use those all the time. Anyways, only because I paid €2.
Crazy.
Anyways, what did I think about this movie? I left that theater and exited and into the rain. I left the 4D experience into the rain, disappointed. I am very fond of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. Very much love number 1. Number 2 has its flaws, but there's still lots to love about it. And this was just not at all what I was hoping for. It feels like a completely different movie, like from a completely different franchise. And I think that's a product of just the amount of time that has elapsed since the last one. It's been 6 years since Volume 2, and James Gunn has changed quite a bit in that time. Lots of things have happened. He's also directed The Suicide Squad, which I think really, really, really changed the feeling and the aesthetics of the Guardians movie. I think the script maybe needed some more time in the incubation period. I think it could have used some work. There's some stuff that I didn't care about. I just remembered it's non-spoiler, so I can't really get into any of that. But just kind of the structure, I guess, of it.
Sure.
Or yeah, that's the best way I can explain it. The structure of it, I don't particularly care for. Now, the second rewatch kind of helped me. It both. I think I was like, once I decided I hated the film, it was hard to come back from that on the first watch. And then the second watch was kind of like, you know what? There are bright moments that I actually do find funny. And once I kind of get used to the new style, I was like, you know what? There is parts to love. There's still the Guardians I love in this. And so it's not all bad, I suppose. But definitely the weakest of the franchise for me. Not how I hoped it was gonna go. Lots to critique on my end. So I think I gave it a really harsh rating after the first watch. I'll probably do a redo of that. But as for my score, I don't know. I might give it like a 3.5, I guess. Like it's good. As a movie, it works. It's just not the kind of Guardians movie I was hoping for. And there's also problems with it. Maybe a 3. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But somewhere between a 3 and a 3.5. And would I recommend people go see it? I don't know. It's a pretty good Marvel movie. No, I don't think I would. I don't think I would recommend people go see this.
Okay.
You know, I come back with it with a negative opinion. So no, I'll stop talking though. I've been talking for a bit. So, Aiden, let's hear from you. What did you think about this whole movie?
Yeah, so in some ways, I like this more than the second one. I'll say that.
Really?
So I think that there are problems in the second one that exist in this and are in fact exacerbated in this. They are worse in this movie than they are in the second one. I kind of see what you mean that it feels like a different movie in that I think it's edited differently and also it just feels like awkward. Like this movie feels so awkward a lot of the time. And in my Letterboxd review, I said, this is perhaps the most tonal whiplash I've ever felt watching a movie. And by that, I mean from scene to scene, the tone is insane. It starts off in this dire tone. This isn't a spoiler. This is just the plot of the movie. They think they're right? They think they're... That's not a spoiler. It's the first scene. It's the first scene.
Yeah, but you can't tell from the trailer, man.
I'll bleep it.
Yeah, bleep that.
Okay, whatever. The movie starts off in a dire way. I'll say that. Sure. And then immediately it tries to swing into this space adventure thing with a needle drop. And it's what is happening? I moved in my seat where I was what? And there's so many moments of that in this movie. That being said, I like that raccoon. I like that guy. He's a good guy. And I like what he undergoes in this movie. I like the way it ends off. I think it's fun. I think it made me feel good. And I think it made me feel emotional as well. And I will actually say, this is the Guardians movie that got me the closest to crying personally out of any of them. I would say the first two definitely did not get me that close, and this one I actually felt like I might. And so while I think this movie is actually a mess in a lot of ways, and I agree I don't really like the structure of the plot, I wish things were done differently. I think it's edited weird. I like some directing moments, but some are also weird. I like this movie just because this actually appealed to me at a more emotional level than the other two movies did. Not that the other two movies, to be clear, I think the other two movies handle their emotional arcs better. I think they're better constructed arcs. This one just was more visceral for me. And so I actually would also give this 3.5 stars because I don't think this is a super high quality movie. I actually think if I was judging this just based on how well is this executed, it would be 3 or 2.5. I don't think this is a super technically strong movie from a writing, editing, and sometimes shooting perspective. But I just like this movie a lot, and I appreciate it for what it is. I like these characters a lot. I think this movie has a lot of heart. 3.5 stars. I also would recommend it because everyone I've talked to who isn't more critical of film has loved this movie. So I will say that. Where it's every friend has been dude, Guardians 3 is incredible. They're all... And yeah, so I do recommend this.
Yeah, that's kind of the weird thing you have to realize is we kind of live in a different bubble where we're just different. We're film bros now. Have you noticed that film bros, as the meaning of that, the connotation of that term has changed? It used to mean someone who kind of only appreciated certain filmmakers, and it was kind of a shallow appreciation of film.
Yeah, Tarantino and Nolan.
Nolan, Peter. But it wasn't necessarily that those filmmakers
And it was-
were bad. They're
No,
good
it was that they would
filmmakers.
talk about them. They would reference only those filmmakers and talk about them as if because they liked these filmmakers' films, they knew everything about film and had such
Yeah.
an in-depth knowledge compared to the average plebeian.
It was a shallow interpretation, and usually the films they were preferring had excessive amounts of violence and misogyny, and it was a red flag to be like,
We don't mean
maybe
you, Peter. We don't mean you.
maybe the person who likes these movies has something wrong with them. Not to say that the movies are bad, but when you pick all of these movies in a row and like these are the only ones you like, it says
And the
something,
things
you know?
they like about them are like the wrong
Yes,
things.
that's the
often.
other thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's the interesting thing where most of the movies they like are kind of like symbols that like trying to say that violence is bad, and they're like, yo, the violence in that was sick, bro. like I don't think you got it. I don't think you understood it all. So that's what it used to mean, and now it means anyone who doesn't like Marvel movies. If you like
People who just like film, like people who
And
just
then-
have like just really like the art form. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they always come up with like, oh, if you like, oh, imagine watching an Eastern European film about life through the eye of a pigeon, like a Serbian film. Like that's always the example they go to, and it's like,
Yeah.
First of all, I want to see that movie, so shut the fuck up. Like,
And as if foreign film means it's immediately like pretentious, as if there aren't like dumb fun foreign films. Like
it's
yeah.
and it
Bro.
feels kind of like
I have the
Is it
most fun with
xenophobic?
foreign films.
like to be like, man, foreign films are so, like. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's
It's
bad.
so weird to think that you're being like countercultural in some kind of way by like
No,
saying
I think
only
genuinely
the
it's-
most mainstream things are what I want to watch.
I think generally like the point about foreign film is actually kind of sad because it's like for the general public they only hear about like the critically acclaimed foreign films like if you ask people on the street they probably heard about Parasite, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like to them foreign film is just that. It's like really good critical movies that are can really be enjoyed by the general public, but then like it's a real shame because like there are so many great foreign films out there that are more on the lighthearted side, like Triangle of Sadness, Another Round.
I'd even say Broker, like
You know?
Broker that we watched earlier
Yeah.
this year. Like that was not like a super heavy. That was more like just like a
Yeah,
fun,
yeah.
lighthearted movie.
I think genuinely it's just like a huge misconception because like what you hear and what you see when you're less passionate about film compared to the more in tune people. So
More
it's a real
insane
shame though.
people. Anyways, the point.
Can we go back to the
Weird
movie
segue.
though?
The reason I brought it up, it's still the same. The reason I brought it up was because I wanted to recheck the score for Guardians on Letterboxd. Do you guys know what it is?
I think it's
Sure.
in the 4.2 or
Guardians
something
3?
last time I checked.
Yeah, it's 4.2.
yeah, I know it's high.
I texted
Yeah.
you guys, didn't I? It's 4.2, which is insanity.
Dude,
That is
so
the-
many people gave it a 5. That's crazy, bro.
Is the
I
highest,
will say though,
it's the highest
don't-
MCU film on Letterboxd.
I don't think that's that surprising just because people care about these characters and this movie is very sensational in a lot of ways. Like it is. No,
No, I disagree. I
Enunciate
think it's
word.
because
No,
people
I
haven't
think it
seen
is-
a good MCU film for so long. And
No,
people
I
are just
disagree.
like, No,
No, it's because
No?
this movie appeals to the senses in such a way that like, and it worked on me. So this isn't a full criticism. This movie is like designed to make you feel like relief and like a release at the end of it. Like specifically the way it ends, and like you know what I'm saying. Like there's
Yeah.
it's a very
typical
feel
emotional
good
beats.
movie.
This movie is hitting. Yeah, that
I-
kind of thing. Like this, you are designed to walk out of this like feeling purged of something.
I also
And-
think
Interesting.
I think the movie is designed in such a way that if you only watch Marvel movies, this looks like a masterpiece because
Sure.
it's just like Guardians 1. It's so different from anything
It
that's
is very
come
different.
before. This is the like visually, it's the most distinct Marvel movie I can think of right now, except Eternals, but those are for the wrong reasons. So it's very different in the lighting, the camera work, and then there's some moments that I personally think borderline on being manipulative, that if you don't sense that, are just like really powerful moments. So I do agree. It kind of makes sense, but it's really weird. Infinity War is the second highest at 4.0.
I'm also saying in the same hand, the manipulation worked on me, and I felt very strongly about it. So there is... Yeah.
Anyways, we've been taking some time away from Peter. Peter wants to get his opinion out. Let's hear from him.
Yeah, I was like, yo, are we ever going to get there?
I'm sorry.
Trust the process.
I watched this movie almost 2 weeks ago, so it's been a while. But like straight out of the gate, like it made me emotional, but at the scenes that you didn't expect, you know, like a lot of people go into the movie has an expectation who's gonna live, who's gonna die, but then like it very much subverted our expectation, at least like if you formed your opinions and your speculations from the trailers. So there's one really surprising thing about the movie. The other one is, as the Guardians ensemble have gotten bigger, I think like James Gunn did his best trying to balance everybody, and I think he did do a good job. But then because the cast has gotten so big, like you can clearly see how attention has been taken away from some characters, and other characters are getting more screen time. It's very prominent in this movie compared to the second one. I think the second one he did a pretty flawless job on balancing the entire ensemble. But this one, he still did a good job, but not as good as the second one, just because the growing cast. So that's my second takeaway. And then overall, I think this movie doesn't have the same emotional highs as the second one. Like, in my opinion, second Guardians film has the highest of emotional highs in the entire franchise. And this one does not hit the same spot for me. And just to cap it off, I think, like, is it a good film? I think it's pretty good. But is it, like, the best of the Guardians? I don't think so. Like, one thing when we talk about the Guardians film is about the consistency when it comes to characters. And coming into this film, already, a lot of the consistency has been broken because of the things that happened between Guardians 2 and 3. Endgame, Thor, etc. Like, it really messed up, like, the Guardians' rhythm in a sense. So we sort of got to see the same Guardians, but they're also different somehow. That was a little strange to get used to. But like, I had a good time in the theater. I think like 3.5. Well, I'm pretty sure I gave it a 4-star after my first viewing, so I'm gonna stick with that. 4 out of 5. And I think like genuinely, like, this is just like, it's a good blockbuster, and I recommend everyone to see it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with Peter on that one, that this one didn't match the emotional connection I had with 2. I think 2 kind of hit me the hardest as well. Kind of the inverse of Aiden. I know. Aiden,
three like very, very assuredly hit me the hardest emotionally.
This is the only one I haven't
clearly
cried to, actually. So
how did you cry at one? Was it because of the Groot scene?
The whole no, I think it was the Peter take my hand moment. Sometimes gets to me. Not always.
I could see we have a chance to give a shit. That always makes me emotional when I see it.
Or no, it was it's somewhere around Peter take my hand, but it's not necessarily that moment. It's when they're sharing the power stone bit. Anyways, we did the thing. Aiden, we have a spoiler warning.
Pew pew pew.
Thank you, Peter. It is now your burden to tell us what happens in this movie.
Yo, I will try my best. I will try my best, but I'm gonna need your help though, because I don't remember some of it.
Until the 2 minutes are over, I cannot help.
Okay.
Yeah. We have broken
legally
that rule before.
Obligated, can't help.
Legally nobligated, as in cannot do it. No obligated. Nobligated, dude. Obligated. I like how it was just no-obligated, and now it's become dude, obligated. Anyways, I have a timer ready. Are you ready, Peter?
All right, let's do it.
Here you go. 3, 2, 1, let's a go.
So we pick up after the events of Thor: Love and Thunder. We're in nowhere, and yo, guys, relax.
You said Thor.
But basically, because Gamora's dead and the new Gamora's nowhere to be found, Peter's not very sad. He's getting drunk all the time. But they really, like, the Guardians crew are really getting settled down in nowhere. They know the people love them. They love the people there. And then out of nowhere, Adam Warlock shows up. It's like, yo, you remember you guys pissed off someone in the second film? And he basically beat everybody up. And then I don't know how they beat him. I think they hurt him pretty bad, actually. But then he also, like, the one key moment is he hurt Rocket really bad, and they tried to use a med pack on Rocket, and because Rocket is genetically engineered, apparently there's like some thing in his body that's going against the med pack, and basically using the med pack on him put him into like a seizure of some sort. So he's dying. So the Guardians crew got back together trying to hunt down the person that manufactured Rocket to basically get some factory reset code to fix Rocket. And then in the journey, they bumped into Gamora. They broke into this bio factory company thing. They had a huge fight. And then they tracked down the person who made Rocket, which is High Evolutionary. They went to his planet and then interacted with his citizens a bit, which are all animals, but they're like human-like now. But the High Evolutionary's objective is to create this perfect society, and he thinks he can do that with like animal-like humans. But then they also observe crimes on the street, which is like, the society's not perfect. They broke into High Evolutionary's ship, and then there's a bunch of kids on the ship, there's a bunch of animals. They freed all of them, and then High Evolutionary dies, and then everyone evacuates to nowhere.
Peter, you have a special knack for summarizing the first 5 minutes for the first minute and a half, and then racing through the rest.
But I will give you credit. You then wind up hitting all the necessary things.
Usually you do.
Yeah,
So.
Oh yeah, and Rocket got saved. Guys.
Rocket fucking gets saved.
Oh fuck! I actually missed some pretty major beats. Like Drax is not a dad. He doesn't want to be the destroyer anymore. Peter goes back to Earth.
Is that in the movie, though? Is that in the movie?
That is in the movie. That's in the final act.
At the end, he says he'll look after the kids. That is how his role
I swear to God, somebody said it's like, you're not meant to be a destroyer.
Yeah, Mantis says that.
Mantis says that.
Mantis says that.
And Mantis goes off on her own adventure with a bunch of space octopus.
Abelisks. Or space octopus. Space calamari.
Yeah.
Also is okay.
Gamora and Peter do not get back together. That's pretty important. Peter goes back to Earth to see his grandpa.
Yep.
And then there's a new Guardians crew. Rocket, Groot,
Big Groot,
Kraglin, Cosmo, Warlock, and the new kid, Philo.
Oh yeah. It's Nikki Gold. She's in the Guardians game. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's not who that is.
No, that is
pretty
totally
sure
who that is.
No, it's not. It's Phyla-Vel, I'm pretty sure. Or, okay, maybe I'll look it up. Guardians Volume 3 cast? I guess it'll tell me who she plays. Just a second. Who the fuck does this kid play?
Dude, I'm just looking at post-credits scene. Like, I'm sure like one of them explains the character.
Fuck, what's her name?
Okay, it's like one of the orphan girls. Okay, at a certain point, guys, we need to realize it's not that important.
I don't know.
Okay, who is new girl Guardians?
Okay, whoever can figure it out first wins. Nothing.
The girl,
but
she is Phyla-Vel.
Phyla.
You guys are so bad at this.
Fucking
Guys.
said.
Who is
Oh,
she?
it's because I said Phyla-Vel, and I tried doing the find thing, and it was just Phyla in the Wikipedia article, not Phyla-Vel. Anyways, that is Phyla-Vel, also known as Quasar, and not whoever the fuck you said. The They literally call her Phyla in the post-credit scene too.
No way.
Rocket addresses her as Phyla. So.
Oh, okay. I just got confused because she has blonde hair, so it's like, oh, it's Nikki Gold because like.
No, that was an OC, as they say.
Oh.
What's OC?
It's terminology.
Original character.
Let me school you. It's called original character.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's terminology. Anyways,
dude, we're cutting all of this. This is not going to the pod.
Nothing's getting cut. I'm not cutting in this episode. Anyways, you did a good job. I can't think of anything. I also wasn't really listening. I have to be honest.
That's good enough. Yeah.
Good enough. Okay, so we're gonna get into our spoiler
Favorite
discussion.
part, baby.
What was your favorite part? Who has one for me?
I have a clear winner.
Let's hear
Sure.
from Peter.
For me, it's the moment that I almost cried. I have no idea why I was on the brink of crying, but when they were reviving Rocket, that scene was very emotional somehow.
Yeah, when
Like,
the spit is coming out of Peter Quill's mouth.
Yeah, and like everyone's holding hands, and then like when they eventually resed him, like sorry, I shouldn't use
When
res.
they Sorry, that's gaming lingo.
when they eventually revived him, it was actually shockingly emotional, and it's really sweet to actually have like another perspective in like you also see Gamora in the room, who's like much more distant compared to everyone else. But even then, she is also moved by the whole sequence, which I thought was really sweet to have like an outsider perspective of the entire thing going down. But like just like that moment is like why I watched the Guardians. It's like this really messed up bunch of people, but somehow they found connections and a family within each other, and they're willing to go so far for each other to, in this case, to save a friend's life, which is just a really sweet thing to see like unfold on screen, and also very well acted as well across the board. And this is one of the moments where I will get into it, I'm sure, but like this film has a problem of cutting away too early or not holding on a shot long enough.
Yes.
And this is one of the
It
scenes
does.
where
You
they
are
actually
correct, Peter. Yes.
they actually held on to it for a bit, where I wish they held on to it a bit longer, but like but like this scene, like at least it held on to it long enough for me to achieve the emotional catharsis. So that was one of my faves. Love that scene.
Nice.
Wow. Really succinct. I just want to shout out really succinct explanation, and I applaud you. I don't agree. Like that's not my favorite scene, and I think it would have been better if he died. I think I would.
Dude,
I love that raccoon, but I think for the emotion, like if I was to get emotional, I think he had to die.
I don't think this movie works well if he dies there. Actually, I was
saying it
thinking for a
does,
second.
but
I was
it's the
thinking
fact-
for a second, like, are they gonna kill him here? And I was like, I hope they don't. And not even, it wasn't even just like a caring for the character thing, which I do. I was just like, that's dumb within this script. Like, that's a dumb. That means a lot of
Yeah,
what we've
yeah.
seen so far means nothing if he just dies.
Do you hear that, Alex?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
No,
He's
I just mean that,
lit.
like when I saw it in the trailer, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's the Rocket dies scene. Like when you see the spitting, I was like that looks like I'm gonna cry, but it didn't. It didn't affect me the way I thought it would, and it reminds me of the Yondu dies scene because it's again Peter Quill doing his yell cry, which I love, and it works better in that movie. Because the guy actually died, and I was like, "Oh, that is really sad. He can't do anything about it."
But the story's also set up for him to die there. I don't think you're supposed to cry in that moment. I didn't cry in that moment. I just thought it was like, I thought it was a nice moment because what I do like about this movie is that I would really not have liked it. And I say this because I peeked into your personal notes, Alex, and I saw at the end that you were saying, correct me if I'm wrong, you were saying like Rocket being potentially convinced to go away from the group. That was like part of your idea of how like things you would do differently. That like Lila is still alive, and they come
That's
into her
true.
life, and they're like convincing Rocket to, in some way, they're being manipulated by High Evolutionary to like kind of bring Rocket away.
No. Okay, I didn't mean to bring him away. I meant to bring the Guardians to the.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Even in my suggestions, I didn't have him die. So to be fair,
Sure.
like I wasn't saying he should die.
But what I like about this movie is that I wouldn't have liked it if if this movie was about testing their family unit again in like the same way of like, will they stay together? Because like, yeah, they will. They're a family. Like at this
Feels
point,
like two again. You know?
yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I like that, and I like that this movie. It's not a question. It's right from the beginning. We have to do everything we possibly can do to save Rocket because he's our family.
I do like that,
And
yeah.
what I like about this moment is that it's like it's just unabashed affection for each other, and like what I think is touching about this moment specifically in the context of the MCU is that I actually don't think we see this depiction of genuine affection and just gratitude for each other, like just a very simple human connection, just very like potently transmitted. Like I think it's a lot of like dulled down gray shit emotionally in the MCU.
I agree.
It's the thing that, you know, I didn't come up with this, but it's the idea that the difference between the Avengers and the Guardians is the Guardians are family. The Avengers are co-workers who don't like each other.
Yes.
You know, they barely tolerate each other. So that's why these movies, the Guardians movies, are the ones that actually strike up emotions for me, and I find most people, because they care about each other. The Avengers barely care about each other. They're friends at best, you know?
Yeah.
And
then when they try to do big emotional moments in the Avengers, it's like, okay.
It hardly
and
works. Sometimes.
It hardly works. Sometimes it works okay, but yeah.
It's usually particular character relationships. So
Right.
I don't know, like
Spider-Man, Iron Man. That's kind of like a
yeah. Those two have a thing, and it's a connection that they've worked on, and so that works.
Yeah.
Anyways, Aiden, do you have a favorite scene?
Yeah, actually, so I think I actually will get disagreements from both of you guys here.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the very opening. I like the.
You're telling me.
I really love the Creep by Radiohead needle drop. I actually think it's a great moment, and it's almost bittersweet because I think it sets the tone for a better movie that's more committed to making that movie. You know what I mean? It's like the thing I said when I first came out of it was that I think this movie was setting itself up to have more of a somber tone, but was resisting that, and it didn't want to go all the way into that. And I don't know if I'd phrase it exactly like that. I don't want this movie to be somber. I don't want to feel like deflated watching this movie. I want it to be a fun space adventure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that this movie loses its urgency sometimes, even though it should feel very urgent the entire time, because the emotional stakes are the highest they've ever been in this franchise. Like, Rocket dying is like, I think, the worst thing that could happen to these characters, like, at this point. But there are some points where it's like, let's go, guys, we're going on an adventure. And it's like, this is wrong. So what I really like about this moment is that it sets up for a really good arc that I think they wind up getting to in the end, but the in between those 2 points are not good, or it's not super well executed. So it sets up for the Guardians are in disarray. They have been either running from their a lot of them have been like running from their problems, unable to kind of face up to themselves, and they've been holding on to the past in a bunch of different ways. Like that's like a big thing of this movie is they've been holding on to the past and they can't move on. So you see that with Peter, you see that with Rocket. I really love that it's just Rocket like walking through to this song. I think, and I remember I texted you, Alex, and about like, oh, I really like the Creep Radiohead moment, and you were like, you think it's a bit on the nose, and I think no, because I believe Rocket would just play that song. You know what I mean? Like, if it was a non-diegetic song, I would agree with you, where it's like, okay, I get it, like he's a creep or whatever, but I think he would play that, and I think like, yeah, and I think I really like how it's just kind of this like, kind of not floating camera, but just like slowly following camera, and nowhere it feels almost desolate, like they've really hit a low here. And what I like about it is that in the end, it's paralleled by the big dance party, which I feel like you guys are gonna not like, but I really liked that moment because again, like it's like the idea of like all of them are holding on to the past, and like by the end of it, like they finally just let go. Like they're finally able to just move on and one might say the dog days are over. But I also like the needle drop there. Even though like I could totally see someone hating this moment, I really like it when Drax dances Like, I like that he is no longer holding on to a preconceived image of himself, and he's willing to let go of that in support of being like really who he was meant to be all along. I think like there's really powerful ideas of like how much these characters have learned from each other. What my biggest problem is getting from point A to point B is rocky, and I think that there is an arc that you can trace probably for each character, but it's not necessarily presented super well.
Yeah, lots of things to comment on.
Yeah, sorry, I went all over the place there, but
yeah. I'll just say, okay, I'll focus on the favorite scene that you mentioned. So I did say that it's a little on the nose, but I do agree with you in that, like, I think anyone who listens to Creep and who likes that song and has it in, one of their playlists, I'm one of them. I like Creep, and I probably listen to it more than I do now. I'm probably more likely to skip it now than anyways. I think anyone who listens to that song feels like they're a creep. I don't think you just listen to that song for fun. Maybe you do, but like you kind of feel that way. And I think so. I see what you mean in that it makes sense for Rocket to listen to. I kind of find it interesting as an opening as a whole that it's a different opening than we've encountered for these characters.
Yeah.
Because it's setting such a different tone. I actually really like that Star-Lord is like drunk off his ass at the beginning.
I like that too.
I find that really interesting and depressing, and it's great because like he was doing like really well at the end of the second film, and in events that unfortunately don't happen in these movies, he's had a real fall, and so we have somewhere to go, which is great because that could have been the concern is once Guardian 2 ends, it's like, where do you go from here? They're all good. They're all happy. They're a family. And now things have happened. Something is broken, and we need to
just
fix
to
it.
hop in. Like that scene sets up for the movie to be about them finding their way back to like the joy they felt in each other and like finding themselves again. And again, I think the movie just loses that. I think it has to be this. It has to be this gradual transition where they go from beaten down, and then in their adventure, they remember certain things about themselves, are willing to let go of other things, and come out the other side better. But I think that it's just too jagged in that approach. But yeah, sorry.
They should have been sadder the whole time, and then get funny.
No, I genuinely think that. I think they should have been sadder for at least the first third half of that movie. They should have been sadder, and they should have learned to not be sad anymore.
Yeah, I do find that. Well, we'll talk about the comedic or the inconsistency later, but like that's the only time Peter is drunk, not this Peter, that Peter. He's like it's an isolated thing, and they say it like again, and it's like, first of all, I'll bring this up now, but Thor: Love and Thunder as far as I could tell is just not canon because
that's what I'm saying. I was gonna bring it up. He was happy.
He was so happy. He was fine. Yeah. That movie's not canon.
Really
it doesn't. That movie's so fucked. Anyways, so that's not canon, and I'm happy with that not being canon. But so it's weird that that's such an isolated. Like, why not let him be drunk a little bit longer? That could have been a fun thing. And also, like, if the comedy is not from the characters being goofy, but from the characters' sadness kind of being funny, that works. Like
that's what I'm saying. You can
Star-Lord being drunk off his ass can be funny,
and you can do that. You can do that in such a way without crossing a line where it's now you're not taking it seriously and you're not caring for the characters. Like, I agree. They should have found comedy in like the deep sadness of the characters, where instead they're trying to find comedy in the same way that they find it in the first two, and I don't think it works. Where it's like it's particularly the kind of comedy that's in the second, where it feels forced. Like it feels like they're trying to put like bantery moments and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I have some more thoughts on that, but I will get to my favorite point, favorite part. I have two I want to talk about, but they're different. They're different in tone, and I'll be quick.
Sure.
So I have one that's funny and one that's sad. So I'll start with the funny one to switch it up, maybe. So there's a lot of moments that I found funny, and especially on the second watch that I kind of appreciated more. One that I I think might be the funniest is in the trailer, which is unfortunate. The best moments are in the trailer, and so there's not a lot waiting for you as a surprise, unfortunately, in the movie. But it's the moment where Gamora says to Star-Lord and Nebula, she's like, I don't know who you're talking about. That sounds more like her. And then Star-Lord and Nebula look at each other like, no, that's crazy. Who are you? I mean, I don't like her. And then they kind of stop and they look at each other. And she's like, knock it off. Stop looking at me. And he's like, yeah, you have really nice eyes, though. And it's just like it's a comedic moment that like works for his like sad puppy dog kind of character. And it's edited well, which I cannot say about so many other times. There's a long pause, and I was like, yes, long pauses. Big fan of long pauses. And it doesn't work without that pause, and so I think that's a really strong comedic moment for a film that was lacking in them.
It's a strong comedic moment because of the thing we were just talking about, where like it's funny because of how sad Peter is. Like Peter is at such a low point that he would look for like love in anyone, where he'd just be like, oh, how about you, Nebula? Like he would do that, and that's funny.
And he's still also like his womanizing self, who can't. He's like still kind of like a philanderer who's like cannot stick to one person. So even though he's like sad about Gamora, he's still like, hey, Nebula's not looking too bad right about now, you know? Yeah. Just sleazy as shit. I love him. And then the other scene I want to mention is the song. It's set to the Do You Realize song, where Star-Lord is sad, and there's a theme here, and he's holding onto the balcony, looking out at space, and he's just listening to the headphones by himself. And what I realized on the second watch was that this mirrors the scene from Guardians 1. Do you remember the moment where
they were in nowhere? They were leaning on the railing. It was him and Gamora, right?
It's that scene. Yes. Is it?
It's like,
I'm trying to remember the song.
Come a little bit closer, you're mine.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's a fun song.
Fooled around and fell.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. That's it. Oh my god.
So in that scene, it's him and Gamora, and it's their love taking shape, and it's sharing the music and looking out at the beautifulness of space, and then here it is mirrored. He's by himself, and he's looking out at the beautifulness of space, but he's got no one to share it with, and it's very sad, and it made me sad. So sad. I didn't cry, but that was a moment that I was like, he clearly did this on purpose, and it's just, and no one says anything about it. It's one of those like subtle things where you have to just like appreciate it. So I really like that moment. Anywho, let's get on to some different points, I think.
Sure.
Let's maybe talk about the visual direction. So this is probably one of the few things that is like one of my biggest kind of issues with this movie. The visual direction is not bad. It's just very different. The way I describe it is that this doesn't feel like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 brought to you by the guy who did the first two. This feels like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 brought to you by the guy who did The Suicide Squad. It feels more like that movie than it does the previous two in the visual style. And it's a difference of what was originally just kind of like closed off shots, reverse shot coverage, like pretty basic coverage, honestly, but like moments of stylization and some movement, switching that for this movie to constant handheld work, whip pans, trying to think what else, like lots of accentuated kind of movements to highlight action, and kind of like a tendency for wider lenses and closer framing. Do you want to add to any of that, Aiden?
No, I agree. I also think that this movie employs like a pretty eclectic mix of visual styles. I think that like there are some scenes that are filmed incredibly differently than the rest of the movie. So like particularly when Rocket in the flashback goes apeshit on the High Evolutionary, like the inserts that it uses of like the mouth and like the super like I like it too, and like the glaring light, and like it's very interesting. I don't know if it always works because I've seen it too long ago, but I think the visual style of this movie like changes drastically, like from scene to scene, moment to moment. Well, within a scene, I think it's pretty consistent, but like different between different scenes, I think it changes quite a bit. But I think the visual directing is overall better. I think this is the best looking Guardians movie. I think that and like I've thought about this more. Like I think the first one like looks fine and has like a lot of the trademark Marvel problems, and then I think that the second one is a step up in a lot of ways, but has some but like for example like the third act at the end is just like, I mean, I guess this movie also has like maybe a not great setting for the third act, but you know, I think that this is like probably the best visual directing in this trilogy, to be honest.
That is shocking. I thought like 2 was my favorite when it comes to that, because I think 1 is a little too at least from
2 is better
color,
than 1, I think.
yeah, from a color perspective, 1 is just very very boring, and 2, you know, where we go to Ego, and you know we have all this different landscapes and it's all very colorful. Like I just thought this one is maybe a little too colorful. I'm nothing against like the bio company or the high evolutionary planet. My problem is with Nowhere. Like, why did they make Nowhere such like a... Nowhere is supposed to be like a neon cyberpunk, you know, like this sort of like run-down city, the steampunk even, I don't even know.
But
then
they've revamped it a bit.
But like they introduced sunlight to Nowhere, like no, why?
I actually,
Nowhere's like much more visually interesting when like it's like a little dark, a little gloomy. But I don't know.
But it's unmotivated. Why would they keep it looking like that?
No, I'm on Peter's side. It's the same as it was in the, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the holiday special.
The holiday special, yeah. Like why did they do that?
When I saw it then, I was like, oh no, what did they do to Nowhere? And I just kind of like, it occurred to me in the rest of the movie, like the lighting has changed like considerably from the previous films, and I think like the way I describe it is, it feels sterile and harsh. You especially notice like the highlights.
I think there is a lot of. I like, well, but they're not blown out. They're just bright, and that's what I like about this movie.
Really
like
bright.
Yeah.
So
I really like it.
It's not necessary. It's not bad. I don't like it, and especially Nowhere. I was like, this is really weird. It feels like I don't know where I don't like Daylight Nowhere, and I think that's just a personal
I agree.
preference thing. It feels like they took my dark and grimy universe that I like, and then they turned the light on and they made it daytime, and
I would argue that it's still dark and grimy in most of its aesthetics. It's just now using maybe higher key lighting, and I think that. And I actually like that this is like a very bright movie in a lot of places. Again, that's one of my criticisms of the first one. The first one's dark. Like the first one
I absolutely agree with you.
It's dark in a lot of ways. Like
I just think at least Nowhere as a setting is more visually interesting when it's in this sort of dark setting, where you can really showcase I guess the characteristic. Like I couldn't tell it's Nowhere until like they said it. Oh, we're on Nowhere right now, because like I can like just basically confuse this with any other normal alien settlement / like city town, you know. But like Nowhere has such a, I guess, like unique visual style that you can just tell it's Nowhere, especially like in the first film or briefly during Infinity War. But like in this one, it's like I couldn't tell it's Nowhere until they told you it's Nowhere.
The issue, and I'm gonna start talking about Nowhere, which is a point I have in general.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was one of the issues I had, but I think there's a bigger issue in that they've decided to set up camp here. Their Guardians HQ is here, and that's fine, I guess. You can say that there's something to be said about that, but never has the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise felt like it was filmed on a set more than now, is what I find.
Sure.
More than in
I will give you that it feels like a set. I'll say
it feels like a set. Feels like light is coming from a set. It feels like all of the actors are actors in BG, and I'm like, please make this stop. It doesn't feel like the Guardians world. It feels like it was filmed on a set. and I think there's a lot of different issues there. So it's lighting is weird, but also like the way the actors are told, like everyone's like really chummy with the Guardians, which is a weird change. Like all the denizens of nowhere,
That's fine, I thought.
And they're just like, hey,
Yeah, I like
Gamora.
that.
I'm like, who the fuck are you? I didn't care.
But
for it.
they're like running this town. I think that's like an interesting thing that they chose to like set up a shop and try to like build. I think it's perfectly in line that they would try to build a more permanent community. I think that's in line with what something the Guardians would do.
I don't know. It feels like this is going to be like the new Star Wars land. Like that's what it looks like to me, and that takes me out of it. Like
Oh, okay.
It looks like a Star Wars land where
I think it
this
can be-
is setting that up.
I think there can be better set deck too. I'll give you that. Where it is like there's something weirdly sparse about it. Like it should.
Yeah, that's
it should
maybe.
It should feel. I think it should feel more like disorganized. Like there should just be like kind of stuff, like a kind of like friendly chaos to everything. Like you know what I mean? Like
I agree. Like it definitely lost a lot of visual uniqueness. I guess that's what I'm trying to bring up earlier, compared to before.
Yeah.
It just looks like a generic alien planet instead of.
But I still stand by that. The lighting isn't the problem for me. It's like a set thing for me.
Maybe
Sure,
it's like
yeah.
it's like they took the nowhere that we liked, Peter and I guess, and then they cleaned it up. They're like, this isn't hospitable. Let's clean it up. Let's turn on the lights. Let's sweep the street so that it's clear. Let's, I don't know, kill half the population of nowhere. No one's here anymore. But like they Thanos nowhere. Anyways, that's so like I think you could in theory make that work. And I just saw something else where like a different medium where the Guardians HQ was set up in nowhere. So that's not like a weird thing. Oh, it was a comic book. I was reading a comic. So like that's not a novel idea. They do that in the comics, but I think it was just weird filmmaking for me. Also, just like everyone we've ever met in the Guardians films are on nowhere too. It's become Callback City. So the guy, the jeweler from the first movie's there. Did you see him? He's playing poker with them.
Right.
No, I didn't see
Really?
Yeah. He's the guy that originally Peter was going to
What's
sell
his-
the Power Stone
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
The guy who-
I remember who you're talking about. but I didn't see him.
Oba-de-ba-do, that scene.
Yeah.
The Howard the Duck is on there. Who else? There's one other character.
Well, Cosmo is just there now.
Cosmo's just there. Cosmo is that nowhere is his home in the comics, but the guy from Guardians 1, lots of Guardians 1's reference where it's that was my favorite knife. That guy,
Oh, yeah.
Drax takes his knife.
Yeah.
He's in the movie on nowhere.
really?
Like
Really?
literally, like small characters for Emma's what I said in my notes is that the universe has never felt smaller because all of these things that I guess maybe you guys didn't pick it up on it, but I did. Again, it was just feeding into this like feeling of like this is just a ploy to make the new Star Wars land. This is Guardians
Sure.
of the Galaxy land where coming summer 2027, you'll be able to walk in nowhere and you'll see all of your favorite characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy films, even the ones that have very small parts. That's what it felt like to me. Maybe not a common issue, but whatever. What else can we talk about? I don't know how to transition out of this.
Oh, transition.
Speaking of transitions, the editing. None of us liked it.
I will say there is one particular scene where I was like, stop. Like in my head, I was like, slow down. What are you doing?
Whoa,
it's the one where
buddy.
they've just arrived at the organic station, and it's the scene where Quill is talking to the other people as he's like jamming the barriers or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was like,
they're
first
still
shield's
on-
down, second
they're on the
shield's
Bowie.
down. Yeah,
The conversation they are having is so insanely fast, and every single joke is just like bah 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 bah. I think there's one where I'm probably imagining this. I doubt this wound up in the movie, but this is what it feels like, where a character's dialogue overlaps his own dialogue. Like he cuts himself off in his own
That's
shot.
crazy.
And it's like that probably doesn't
That
happen,
Might have happened.
but it
And
just
was
it feels
Quill?
like that happened.
Wasn't it Quill?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like Quill either comes in too early on his own line, or like so, it's so bizarre. But this is a problem throughout the entire movie where it's like it feels like they realized in the edit, holy shit, we have filmed a lot of stuff and we need to get through this right now. And yeah,
I think there's a it comes out at 2 hours 30 right now. I think there's a 2 hours 45-minute cut that needed to get shaved down quite a bit because they're like, we can't market this. We're not Avatar, you know. And so what gets cut is like the rhythm, which is a really important part of editing. And so like that scene I think was a really bad one, but like kind of like throughout the movie there's just like it ruins jokes because the most important part of comedy is timing, and so without that you're fucked, you know.
It ruins jokes, and then it's also like scenes come and go so quick that it's hard to tell like which moments are super important and which ones are not. This is something I feel like I talk about all the time, so sometimes I feel like a broken record, but like because it's a problem I've had in my own editing where it's actually hard to edit your film in such a way that you make sure the most important are spaced out, and then the other things can go by in a more fast-paced manner. And this movie has a real problem with that. I think that it's not until like in the second half I think it's less of a problem. I think that this movie starts once they get to the fake Earth, the counter Earth.
I think that's probably it, actually. The fact that they just want to get there quicker. I imagine that's
what I had that exact take where I was like, I think that they were trying so hard to get there because I think that you need to get there early for the spaceship thing, for the destruction of the planet to matter. Yes. And also, it's that because we need to go and talk to people and we need to see that there are people there. It's also, I think they probably realized, oh, we get there and then we're gone very quickly. We're actually not here for a good chunk of the movie, even though it feels like we're supposed to be here. This feels like it should be a bigger deal, but it's, and this is my broader problem with the plot of the movie where it's just quick, like catch and grab missions. I don't know what the actual term is, but it's just like, we're doing this thing and now we're doing this thing and now we have to do this thing and now we have to do this thing. I think this movie has a problem with unity of action.
But going back to the editing point though, like I don't remember having problem with the comedy, but I had a huge problem with the times where they cut to the flashback scenes. I think like it might not be like the tonal shift you were talking about, Aiden, but I find the timing of cutting back to Rocket's flashbacks extremely weird. Like initially they were just cutting it back when Rocket was like, you know, his condition has worsened, so we're like sort of in his head. He's sort of mixing up the memory from before and after. And then after we just start cutting into that in really random moments that I really just don't understand.
I remember,
that ruined the pacing for me.
Yeah, sorry, Alex, I'm just going to jump in really quick. Just because Peter texted me. We both saw this before Alex did. So Peter texted me. And he was like, hey, he said, how did you feel about the flashbacks? And you brought that up, that when it cuts to it, you had a problem with that. I wasn't paying attention to that. I actually found that there was so much going on in this movie that
there's a lot going on.
I struggled to pay attention to this, which I'll get into that. That's one of my other problems. But yeah, that might be true, but I wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I think the fact that there's a lot going on. I've been hesitating to say that, but there's a lot going on in this movie. There's too many characters. I think we've reached an oversaturation of Guardians characters, which is why we have to have the calling at the end.
Yes, and I don't know if we want to get into this now. We can still talk about editing, but there's one particular character that I would entirely scrap from this movie.
Yes,
I don't care. I don't care that he's set up in the other.
Does his name start with a K and end with a Raglan? I fucking hate.
Oh, really? No, I'm not talking about him at all. Adam Warlock for me.
It starts with an A and ends with an Orlock. Yeah.
A Orlock. You did the joke wrong.
No, I didn't. Adam Warlock starts with an A.
No, but you start with.
I
did the whole word, so I did start with a K, ends with a Raglan, and you said starts with an
A and ends with damn Warlock. Yeah.
So I thought you were talking about it, anyways. Also agree, but
yes,
I hated Raglan's arc. I'll get into that. I do want to talk about the editing.
You can find out a different way to do Rocket, whatever. But sorry, what were you gonna say?
Okay, editing. Last thing. Also, individual moments that aren't comedic sometimes are overcut. I find that some like especially in the beginning when they're still on nowhere, there'll be like really simple action, like people are walking or picking things up, and they cut like 4 times. And I think that's a product of trying to cut down the time it takes for that to happen. So they think that like maybe like if I cut to it and then we can shave some time in between, you know. Or it's a product of the coverage they've chosen, because they've gone for a different way of covering things with their kind of more fluid camera movement and handheld and panning, lots of panning in the same shots instead of inserts. The cutting is affected, and I found that there were awkward moments where, like, cutting in mid-pan or something, it just didn't work.
I think the editing of this movie is resisting the cinematography and visual direction. I think that there are ideas that they have gone back on in the editing and are trying to fit it into something else, and it's not working. And I will say, like, this movie feels like of the film I am working on now of editing, there was a stage of working on it where I was like, this is too long and I need to just make it shorter. And I was trying so hard to like cut a third off of the runtime, and the cut I got out of that was a butchered mess. That was just like, all of the content was there, but it was just like but. And that's what this movie feels like. Where they're like, okay, so how can we edit this so that all of the things that need to happen in the movie, and they're not concerned about the presentation of it as much. And so I think the editing's a huge problem.
Rhythm is everything, and I think what you have to learn is that we've both learned that like we've been taught, which is really sad that we've been taught that you have to keep your film short, and I think what we should have been taught is the film speaks for itself, and you have to find the right length for your film. Actually, one of our instructors
is very adamant about that.
The other one, the one that you didn't have, was more like, keep it under 12 minutes. Shouldn't be over 12 minutes. Anyways, where were we? Okay, we did kind of mention that we had some characters who we thought were extraneous. So why don't we maybe talk about one of them? Let's talk with the guy who starts with an A and ends in Orlok.
Dude,
Orlok.
That is such a, like, I'm serious. If you cut him out of this movie, the plot is so much more focused. You can develop the High Evolutionary more. You can spend more time with him instead of this weird secondary antagonist thing. You can, I don't care that he's set up in Guardians 2, just ignore it.
All because of a post-credit scene, exactly.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
That's happened in other MCU projects. I can't think of an example, but I know it has, where something has been set up and they just never did it.
Oh, we didn't watch it, but Shazam 2? You know how the Shazam 1 ends with the tease of Dr. Mind and Dr. Sivana or whatever? Like, they tease that, sequel doesn't do it, the post-credit scene of the sequel is the same post-credit scene.
No way!
Where they're still in jail, and Dr. Mind is like, we're working on it. Next time. Shazam 3. No.
Yeah, I think you're able to cut out so much of the bullshit of this movie. I also, while we're talking about this isn't a character, but cutting out things in general, like, I don't know. On the one hand, I like the idea that it's a space. On the one hand, I like the idea that it's a space adventure where we're jumping around a lot, but I also think that, like, we don't need to go to this place and this place and this place. Like, the fact that we go to the bio lab and then we have to go to Counter Earth. It's like, I was thinking that actually works so much better for me if those places are just like the same place. Like, or if like, what if the biolab is just like orbiting Counter Earth? It's so weird to me that they go to just 2 completely different places, and it's just like there's no reference of Counter Earth really until they get to the biolab, and then suddenly we have to go to Counter Earth. Like, it's just, to me, it's an example of the failure of unity of action thing. And sorry, I'm jumping around so much this episode, but Adam Warlock also feels part of that.
That would be more unity of place, but that is one of the
No, but it's also a unity of action thing, where it's like, we've started by doing this one. Well, okay, it is the same action. I understand. It is the same through line.
The action is save Rocket. but it's
Right.
a convoluted path to
Yes.
get to that, and it's not always clear what we're trying to achieve, I think, is the issue.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
also like the breadcrumbs they plant to like these are the steps to save Rocket. I'm always kind of like, wait, we have to do what? We have to go to Orgocore to do something. I don't know what we're doing there.
Yes.
And then we have to do the guy, and I'm like, okay, but who's the guy and why does he matter? And then we have to kill him. And I was like, why are you killing him? You need him for the information. And then we take the thing out of his head. And we
No, you're right. We don't have enough context
What
for
is
that.
going on?
Yeah.
Dude,
None of the
I
steps to
didn't
save
have
Rocket
this
make
problem
sense.
at all for some reason. And
Wow.
I
This
thought
was
like
a huge problem for me.
I thought like
couldn't keep track.
the pathing also makes sense. It's like it's really typical action movie stuff where you get to one place, turns out the thing you were originally planning didn't work out. Now you have to go to another place. I thought that's very typical. That's like
I don't
I think
have
you're
the
right,
problem.
but I actually think it's what Alex is saying where about the breadcrumbs. I don't think like I think we're learning about things after the fact too often, and I think the example of the guy with the headpiece is a perfect example of that, where it's like Peter fucking kills him, and it's like, what did we need with this guy? And then it's like, oh well, we're gonna take the thing out and then run the thing.
yeah,
It's
because
like,
it was
oh,
mentioned.
okay.
I'm pretty
But
sure
it's
it's like
weird.
They first go to the biolab and then they extract Rocket's like code or something, and then they plug it in. They found out a chunk of it is missing, and then they track that chunk to that guy's headset. And because the headset's connected to that guy's brain, they have to rip off the headset.
Yeah,
to kill him.
I think in a movie like this where you need, there are steps you have to take to get to an action. There have been examples where the steps you need to take are much clearer, and I think there are ways to make it clearer. I just don't think the movie does a good job of being very clear about what it is the Guardians have to do to save Rocket. I think it should be very obvious, and it's seemingly convoluted for no reason.
Well, and also I think it's really just a method of them trying to explore different places. Like
there, buddy.
else, like why would you go to Counter Earth in the first place?
I like having two planets, I will say that, personally. Anyways, Aiden wanted to chime in.
I'm realizing my problem isn't that it's two planets. It's like, I think it is that like, it's the idea of we need to get this thing and now we need to get this thing. It's like, it's a bunch of like item quests within this movie. And
Too many gimmicks.
And that like, that's what I don't like about it. Like, I would prefer if they need to save Rocket. And I think also my problem is they don't get in real contact with the High Evolutionary until late in this movie. And I think I would like it if it was more like less about like they have to retrieve something and more like maybe they have to bring Rocket's body to like this specific lab or something. Like I don't know. There's just something specifically about like they need to go fetch these items and then we need to get this item. Okay, we got this item, so now we need to get this item. Something about that is wrong to me. It's
what makes more sense is if they tried to find someone who can fix him. Don't go to this fucking lab. Like I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? The first reaction would be, okay, who's an expert on fixing robot people? There seems to be like a more obvious first solution.
You're right. You're
always...
right, and it's what it is it's that like that jumping the beats that it takes to get them to get off of nowhere and go somewhere. It requires like several jumps of like, okay, Rocket got shot, and so we put the med bay on. The med pack isn't working. Why isn't it working? Well, Rocket's been biologically engineered. Oh, okay, so within that there's also a specific code. Oh, how do we fix that? Okay, well, if we get this thing for the code, then maybe we can go there. Well, how do we get that thing? It's in this place, and then they go. Whereas you're right, it's so much smoother if it's just, oh, fuck, what's happening to Rocket? This guy might know, and then they go. Yeah, like, that feels like it's such a clearer action.
There's two different things. It's the fact that there's the right way to do it, which is a character is always going to do the easiest possible thing to try and solve their problem. The easiest possible thing is to find a doctor. And it's going to be a specific type of doctor, but a doctor is obviously the first solution, not Rocket's creator. That seems very specific, and like you shouldn't have to go through that hassle to find Rocket's specific creator to fix him. You would say, no, I'm going to go to a doctor. And then, things happen that mean the doctor says, I can't fix him. I don't know how. Here's what you need to do. And then events have happened up to that point where now we know how to find. Because the issue is, how do we find Rocket's creator? This is the issue that clearly was a problem. And so then they have to reverse engineer how to find him.
They have to do something so that they can figure out a way to find him. And so that's what my problem is. That the whole point of the first... Yes, you've said it. My problem with the going to the lab thing is that the whole point of it is so that they can find out a way to get to the High Evolutionary. Yeah, and it feels like rendered pointless. Yeah. No, that's what it is. It feels like a pointless thing just for the sake of plot development. Yep.
Script doctors.
Yeah, I disagree. To be honest, I think there has to be a progression there, right? Like, and I think the way the journey was set up is just in a sense where they haven't fought for a while. They've settled down. They've chosen this sort of like the more, I guess, like peaceful lifestyle over like the fighting, going around robbing people, Guardians, and then there needs to be a fight that sets them back up, going back into the Union again before, fighting eventually on counter Earth.
You can still have a fight.
Yeah.
We're just saying that the setting, Peter, the setting and the goal of that section, which is the first part of the second act, they've decided the setting is Orgocore. The goal is get thing that I still cannot tell you what that is. It's
and the thing doesn't really matter.
Yeah, like I don't really remember how that plays it, and I saw it yesterday. Whereas,
I think genuinely, it might just be your problem because
there's two of us. There's two of us who agree right now. But anyways, what we're saying,
I find it shocking that you find this an issue because I saw it, I saw it earlier than you did, and I still remember exactly what they need to do to get it.
What I'm saying, it's not that I was watching the movie and not understanding.
Okay.
I'm saying that, I comprehended the movie as I was watching it. I'm just saying that the choices that were made were bad choices.
Sure.
Because they don't make sense and they actively confuse the audience instead of being normal choices. And so what I just want to say first is that what we're suggesting is that what probably was the first natural solution to the problem that is set up is Rocket is gravely injured. The next step that makes the most sense to these characters should probably be, let's go find a doctor. Now, a good screenwriter would then put in obstacles to finding a doctor. So you put the doctor in a location or in a situation such that a fight will occur anyways. Fight can still happen on the way, during, or because they have found a doctor. Fight can still happen. It can even be on Orgocore. I don't give a fuck. But it's the goal that needs to change.
It's also a problem of the orb feels pointless because it has the code in it. It has the code in it that they need, and then they get it and they need more code. Yeah, they just need more code instead of it being instead of it being like plots should zigzag, and by that I mean it shouldn't just be we are trying to get this thing, we got some of it, now we need to get more of that thing. Now we need to get more of that thing.
It feels like a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
It's like we found the code, but the code wasn't good enough. We need more code. Gotta get the other code. Anyways, I think we've drilled this point into oblivion. Let's go back to Warlock because we didn't even.
Yes, I have more to say about Adam too.
Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. The way they did it in this movie, it's. I think my problem with him is that it's a nothing character. Not only it's too much for this movie that he shouldn't be in, because he he's clearly extraneous. He's what causes Rocket's injury, but that's kind of the only part he plays.
He doesn't really affect the plot in a meaningful... Any way that he does affect the plot could be replaced by something else easily.
And his character is just doing the bidding of others. And but he's not a henchman. That is a henchman. And you've elevated him to like an actual like leading character. But like he's just doing what he's told. And one question that I have is, in the third act, he's still fighting them, and I don't know why. His mom died, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what your deal is. Why you don't give a shit? You've been told, you've been conditioned to, but even then, you're kind of like, I've been disobedient this whole time, and I don't understand what your deal is.
Dude, honestly, like his role in the movie is just be a nuisance. It's like, yo, we need someone to fight. Who can fight? Adam Warlock.
Yeah. It's things like...
Sorry,
you go. Sorry.
I'm just going to quickly wrap up.
We do this all the time. It's so cute.
I mean, like, let me just summarize what he did in this movie. Okay? He beat up Rocket, so he set the whole plot in motion, sure. And then, you know... Gamora, she hasn't been doing much on Counter-Earth. Guess what? We're going to have you fight Adam Warlock.
Yes.
Yep.
Sick. And then at the end, guess what? You're going to fight Adam Warlock again. And he's going to be gravely injured. And you're going to be the heroic, we're going to have a heroic Guardian moment where Groot's like, yo, we got to save Adam. And Adam's like, why'd you save me? Oh my god, I'm a good guy now? Let's go. And then does the finger touching thing to save Peter Quill. That's his entire role in the movie.
No, it's exactly... I was going to say that exact thing where it's like the moment where it's like Gamora's on the spaceship alone and she needs to have a problem. She needs to be doing something. It's like, dude, just make her not split up. Just have less groups. If you don't have a thing for all of your groups to do, have less groups. Have them in like 2 or 3 groups instead of 4 or whatever.
Have less groups. I wanted to have that on my wall. Less groups.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. In fact, I was kind of like, I didn't really want to say this because I wasn't sure, but like, Gamora is totally sidelined in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't really have an arc. She's just kind of like...
She's more there for Peter's arc.
Yeah, she becomes a prop, which fucking sucks. And I understand why Zoe Saldana doesn't want to do this shit anymore. Because Gamora has never really... She's always kind of been not fully realized, but never to this extent. She was actively, like, doing things in Guardians 2. And in this one, her like when she's alone on the ship, she's looking at, like, Peter's things. And I'm like, what is your arc? Why do you want to do this? Why do you give a shit about what's in his backpack? But...
Well, okay. I actually think that there's something more there. I think that I don't think she's a prop. I think she's just sidelined a little bit, and it's my main problem where like she should just be with the group more, and she should just be forced to tag along with them more. And it's weird that that's what's happening, but it also is avoiding that happening. Like so, like the way I see this is that she doesn't have any recollection of anything that Peter is talking to her about, anything that any of the other characters are referencing.
Yeah, because she's from a different universe timeline. Yeah,
but she's hearing about these things about how she was this good person, and it's making her question who she is now.
Exactly.
And so she's looking through Peter's things, and she's questioning like, well, what is it about this guy? You're saying like I loved this guy, like. You're saying this perfect version of me loved this guy. Is there something within him? And I actually think, and so I think there's an interesting arc here that doesn't necessarily need to be overstated, but I think it's a bit understated in this.
No, for sure. I agree with you. I think it would be so cool. It's like, who was this Gamora before me? You know, who was this Gamora? Like, because she is sort of like thrusted into this universe because she was following Thanos. She was at a different place compared to the Gamora that they were with. So it would be actually really interesting to see her explore what the Guardians 1 and 2 Gamora was like and how she arrived at this spot where, she betrayed Thanos, fell in love with Peter, etc. Like, how did that happen? I think it would be really interesting if she explores that in this movie. But, of course, didn't do that.
I think that's what her thing is when she's on the ship by herself. She's like... I think you're right, Aiden. It's her trying to figure out why she cared about these people, and so that's why she's like watching Rocket, and she's like, they must really care about you, like you pet, or I don't know. She calls him a name or something, and like, I think she's like, she do something with the music, like she's like looking at the music, and she's like, I don't get it, and she doesn't get Groot, and then eventually she does. So like, it is kind of there, but I don't think it's there enough, and I think she is sidelined.
I think my main problem is that she's isolated. I think you can do that with her being there still. Yeah. And she's not given like actual actions to do most of the time. And I think that's my problem.
And also that is more about exploring who the Guardians are instead of who she was. You know? It's more about the Guardians instead of past Gamora, which I thought
but that's the only way she has to trace it. It's like she's doing archaeology, and she doesn't have her skeleton. She just has the material culture of the people around her.
No,
it's a very specific metaphor.
I see what you're doing.
Getting it to my minor, but
I see you. Yeah. Okay. I think we've covered Gamora. I think this is starting to make sense more for me now. But I have a question for you guys. If it wasn't just like a better idea to cut them all together, how would you fix Adam Warlock? If he had to be in the movie, what would you do? Because he doesn't work. So what would you do to make him work?
Yeah.
Well, two of my main problems with Adam is first, like, his presence doesn't really mean much. Like I said, he's just there as a nuisance. And the second is his change of heart is just way too sudden. It's like I think it would be really interesting because one thing they sort of stressed at the beginning when we first met Adam is that, we broke him out of his womb early. He's just a child. He doesn't understand anything. So like, how does he reconcile a child's mind, a child's understanding of the world with a body strong enough to be a god? You know what I mean? And how does he sort of balance that relationship where he has this such mass power destruction within him, but he can't really comprehend it because in his mind he's just a kid. I think it would be really cool to see him on Counter Earth, or like especially on a high evolutionary ship, like see him, how does he grapple the situation of you have a bunch of kids imprisoned on the ship doing, like, he's running human experiments, but I'm being told that I'm supposed to be the good guy protecting the high evolutionary. Like, I think that would make more sense for him to do like a change of heart then, instead of like, oh, Groot saved me, I guess I'll join the Guardians now. Like, he can be introduced a little later maybe, like, like before they can fully get to high evolutionary, then it's like all of a sudden a new challenger has appeared, Adam Warlock, type of thing. I don't know. But like, either way, like, I just think no matter how you position him, he's just not set up properly. Like, there's just not enough screen time and backstory given to him to make his appearance meaningful. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are two ideas I have that I don't know if this fixes it, but to me these weave him into the plot better. And one of them is that you touch more closely upon the affinity he has with Rocket, as both of them being beings who were engineered to exist. And then you also deal with the power scaling problem that I have in this movie, where to me the high evolutionary doesn't feel very threatening most of the time because he's in fact very handily dealt with. I think that if you establish Adam Warlock as incredibly powerful and very hard to stop, which this movie does in the beginning and then kind of doesn't later, but if you do that and then you make it so that at one point in the movie, in order to defeat the High Evolutionary, the Guardians cannot do it by themselves, and Rocket needs to harness or come up with a plan that utilizes Adam Warlock, drawing on this connection that they have. And that's the only way. The raw power of Adam Warlock is the only way they get to ultimately defeat the High Evolutionary, which I think establishes the High Evolutionary as more powerful and requiring some kind of assistance to defeat. And it also thematically ties it in as a being who lacks identity because he was thrust into this world and in some ways feels like a crime against nature.
Yeah, not hello. I really like that. My two things that I had were, one, I think he needs to be more central to the evolutionary's plans, because right now he is the henchman to the henchman.
Yeah.
That's too many hench people. We're too distant that he never feels fully like connected to the point, and also like he doesn't care. Those are my kind of two issues. So I would have it where, and also I realize this solves another problem I have. I don't like that the evolutionary has gravity powers. It feels really random and like unconnected to his shtick, which is evolution. I'm like, gravity? What are we doing here? And just like seems like we're just trying to have an opponent who is formidable enough to like mean that all the Guardians have to take him on. So what I would do is have Adam Warlock be like his henchman, like his henchman, his main guy, and like it can be like part of the thing that like he didn't create him, but he created the person who created him. The idea of like evolving something to its purest form, that is Adam Warlock. I don't understand why he hates him so much. He doesn't seem to like Adam Warlock, which doesn't make sense. He should love him because he is exactly what he wants. And then just have him be like the physical threat to the Guardians. Instead of the scenes where like the Guardians have to fight that high evolutionary or like the gravity powers, just have Adam Warlock do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Instead of trying to fuck around. Because why would the high evolutionary do that? Why would he...
And he tries to explain it, too. He's like, after Rocket fucked up my face, I turned my powers to myself, and I fixed my face, and I gave myself gravity powers. Like, you what?
I don't think he'd... Yeah, I agree with you. He wouldn't do that, but he absolutely would create the perfect defense specimen. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
My other...
So you go.
Okay, my other thing is that Aisha's, like, the post-credit scene, she's like, I'm gonna create the thing that will fuck up the Guardians so bad, I hate them so much. And then Adam Warlock shows up, and he's like, Guardians who? He doesn't know who they are, and he doesn't care. And I know that the baby mentality is like kind of his comedic persona. It's the incongruity that I usually preach about. So like I get that, and I can't really counteract or like disagree with that. But I think he needs to hate the Guardians because he doesn't. He doesn't care. And I think if he hates the Guardians for who they are, I think that ties into the themes. I think the themes are, and they very clearly state this in the movie, it's hating. You shouldn't hate things for what they are. You should accept them for what they are instead of what you want them to be. And I think it's so easy. You could have made him hate them for who they are, and then he has to accept, just like everybody else, that they are what they are. And I think that you could do really interesting things with that. Like, this is your third Guardians movie. It's nice to kind of reflect on what's come before. And so you can have him interrogate their flaws and be like, are you the Guardians of the Galaxy? You don't guard shit, you know, like something like that, you know? These, you know, anyways, I can't explain it better than that. So that's I think together the three of us could have had a really good Adam Warlock.
No, and I was just going to say that, like, the one thing I do like, I actually believe that the High Evolutionary would never truly like anything he's created, because he's trying to do something that's impossible, which is, like, create the perfect specimen. And like you said, the point of the movie is that, like, there is no perfect specimen. You should, like, accept yourself for who you are. Like that's a lot of, like, what Rocket is. It's, like, rejecting the things that have been imposed on him and then accepting the thing that he naturally is, like, just and not being ashamed of himself anymore and not being resentful of it. And I think that could tie in where, like, the High Evolutionary is trying to make this perfect specimen, but it never comes out right, and he's never quite able to do that. And I think that's what the point is. I think that's what the point is with Counter Earth, where it's like it became this, like, crime thing. Like, he was trying to make the perfect people in the perfect society, and it didn't work that way. But I agree that this movie squanders opportunities to have that exact same theme in different areas.
Yeah.
Dude, low key, this movie just needs either less stuff or a longer runtime.
Yeah.
Needed a rewrite. That's what I needed. Let's talk about, I don't know, Kraglin and Cosmo. So this was something that when we each had something that we thought was extraneous. I think keep cutting back to Kraglin and Cosmo was just. I get it. I get the point. Like, and its function in the story, but it didn't work for me at all. It might just be that I think the jokes are really dumb. Like the fact that they're dragging along the bad dog joke. I was just like, okay, bad dog. And it just like, yeah, I never found that worked. And my bigger issue is more the Kraglin, that they try to give Kraglin an arc, and it's like he can't figure out the whistle thing, and then at the end he needs to hear the heart speech, which he wasn't there for in Guardians 2, so that breaks the canon. But that's a small thing. But also, like, following your heart was not really the point of the movie or anything that had to do with his scenes, which are supposed to be comedic relief that weren't funny. So,
dude, I think they just wanted a Yondu cameo, to be honest.
I don't think that's
true. Third Guardians film.
I just think that they were pushing something that didn't need to be there. I think they were trying to give Kraglin more to do because they teased it in the last one that he was part of the team now. Just fucking leave him on nowhere. Just come back to him when you need him. I don't see.
Yeah, and then I agree that if they want nowhere to be there at the end, which I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't have a problem with that.
Fine.
You do need to show him at some point. He can't just be literally at the beginning and then right at the end.
Yeah, I agree.
You can do that in a better way.
Yeah. What else can we talk about? We're gonna try and speed run this. I'm gonna just refer back to the top. So first thing I have is tone. We wanted to talk about tone, comedic whiplash.
Yeah,
Aiden?
I think we've talked about. I think we've already actually talked about this a decent amount. I just from scene to scene, like the scenes, the emotions that are driving one scene drop off in the next, and then they come back, and then it's just a very strange roller coaster, and like just the most. Like, this movie should feel more dire. It should have more of a sad tone that kind of permeates the thing, and they should find the comedy in that. It's that whole idea, basically.
I really noticed that the first watch, and I kind of just let the movie wash over me the second time, so I didn't notice it as much. But I did think that they would. I felt very strongly the first watch that action was happening. They would say, okay, we are taking a break for comedy right now, and then they were going to be funny. Remember the old Guardians, the chummy, funny guys? You're these guys for right now. And then the scene always inevitably ends with Peter going, guys, we have to save our friend. We have to save Rocket. How many times in this movie does he say that? Because he has to remind us what the stakes are. And this is just a problem the movie has as a whole, is that you've injured Rocket, and I'm just gonna all of these points in a row. You've injured Rocket. You've taken out part of the family, and so now you've ruined the dynamic. Rocket isn't really in this movie. It's a different, younger version, and I admit I don't love that he's not part of the group. And now we have to do these flashbacks, which kind of are weird. Then this thing that happens in the beginning has to sustain us the whole time for the stakes, but even trying to raise them doesn't really work because the fluid is filling his lungs, and then they just fix it. And then it's always guys, remember, we have to save our friend, and we're not actually upping the stakes. We're just kind of reminding you of them. And I think the problem is that he's dying. I don't think it works. I think him dying the whole time... Shut up, Siri. I think him dying the whole time has too many problems, and I don't think it works, and I don't remember where this point started.
Yeah, I will say I had a feeling of... I wish that... I think there's a version of this movie where he's still dying for whatever reason, but he's alive. He's with them and he's conscious.
He's conscious.
And he's still dying, but he's there. And I think that you can have this really good descent where the characters start out with we've saved the galaxy how many times now? Of course we're going to save you, Rocket. But there's still that underlying fear there. And as it keeps going and they it's getting closer and closer to Rocket dying, and they haven't solved it yet, that fear is growing and growing. Like,
Yes.
I think that's probably a better way into this story than just having him kicked out of it.
I completely agree. At the end, you know, like end of the second act, have him go unconscious. Sure, whatever. But my biggest suggestion, I'm jumping way ahead to how I would change, like what I would change, is that have him conscious the whole time, because when he's unconscious, he doesn't get an arc. He's just reliving his past as exposition for us.
Sure.
He's not changing. He's like as stagnant as can be because he is unconscious and not doing anything. And where was I? So what I would have done is have his past come back to haunt him. This is the classic thing. Have one of his treehouse friends, maybe the scary bunny or the scary otter. I don't think the walrus works, but one of those two, have them show up, and maybe they find him because High Evolutionary wants to do a thing and he's looking for Rocket. I don't know, maybe they contact them out of desperation. But like, anyways, if you have him conscious, you can do so many fun things. Like, he knows he needs to go home, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't get that choice this time because he's unconscious the whole time. That fear of going back and of seeing his creator, we don't get to explore until in the middle of the third act. There's the one moment where he hears High Evolutionary, and you do like a very quick camera push in, and he goes, "Oh my god, it's a High Evolutionary," right? But like, that should have happened ages ago.
Yeah,
and
I also think I have a problem with. I actually like the flashbacks, but I think that too often in the flashbacks. Yeah, I think that too often in the flashbacks, an important thing didn't happen. It's just like they were there, and I think you can actually like bring them together more and have fewer flashbacks.
Yes.
But I will say, like, one of my favorite parts of this movie is I think there's a great shot where it's when Lila dies, when she has been shot, and Rocket is like immobilized by grief, like as a baby, and he's just like so tense and he's crying, and it's this like profile kind of two shot of him just like stood there like shuddering, and I think like that's a very like powerful moment. And so there are things I like about the flashbacks, but I think they need to be consolidated a bit more.
I don't think you need to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I think what could happen is if you have the person in the present come back, then that can trigger the flashbacks. Because Peter said that he didn't feel that the flashbacks were properly...
the timing of transitioning to flashback.
Yeah.
It's very
But
inconsistent.
having part of the past come back can trigger those memories, and that actually makes sense.
That would be a much more natural way to do it.
Especially if those memories are ones he doesn't want to relive.
Sure.
I think also, where was I? You get the chance of him like having to come to terms with what happened to him, because that's sort of happening, but he's unconscious. So like, what does come to terms mean in that case?
I think like he does get that a little bit, but I agree that it's my same problem where it's like point A and B are actually like decent, where like he started out and he's a creep, and then you have the scene with the raccoons where he's like, there's which is a great scene. That was like the closest I've been to crying, I think, in any scene in a Guardians movie. To me, like that is like one of the most emotionally potent moments in the trilogy. But like, and like that's a great moment because it's like it's like look at what I was. There was nothing wrong with this, and like he's able to like let go of some of the like so much of the resentment, but the between point A and B isn't really there. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
Okay, other things I have on this point. Him avoiding going back home, it mirrors Quill's arc. Love mirroring. Good thing that could have happened. Does Rocket feel guilty about his friends dying? Fuck off, Siri. Take off my watch. Okay. Does Rocket feel guilty about his friends? It seems like he does based on the shot you just mentioned. But we don't get to play with that. If his friend comes back, he can feel guilty about them. Like if they had a near death and they didn't actually die, and then he abandoned them, quote unquote, that can be an interesting point of tension, maybe. Maybe that friend has been corrupted by the High Evolutionary and betrays him, and that fucking sucks. That's a big cliche,
Or
maybe, but
I don't like the betrayal. I actually like the idea that they've been experimenting on so much that they actually don't even exist as like the personality isn't there anymore. It's just like
Oh, I
the
like
body
that,
has
yeah.
been mutilated over and over. So it's like it's really like a zombie of what was once there.
yeah, no, I like that.
Yo, what if they bring them back, but like
From
as
the
their
dead?
zombie self?
That's
That
fucked.
would be crazy. No, that would be
Actually,
crazy. It's like he sees
be-
Lila and he's like, "What the fuck? Lila's still alive?" And then Lila's like, not the Lila he needs.
Yeah.
No,
you know?
actually,
Like
I don't
she's
mind
still
that.
dead, but it's the corpse. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's a high evolutionary Frankenstein thing. It fits. It
Yeah.
fits. It works. The only other thing, this is really small. I kind of feel like the high evolutionary should have taught Rocket mechanics. This is kind of a dumb small point, but he teaches him math and stuff. But like, I think it'd be neat if the high evolutionary's thing was like kind of being like a tinkery guy, like originally, because how like the other animals are also have been tinkered with, and then does it like that kind of like makes sense for why Rocket is a tinkerer, and then also I like the idea of like this terrible creator, guardian, parent passing down something into him, and like that's his skill, but it comes from something so terrible.
Yeah. And it is a central part of his identity, and he has to contend with that and accept that part of him without being bogged down by the traumatic past that connects to it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Exactamundo. Let's talk about the high evolutionary. How'd
lame,
you guys
I
feel
think.
about him? What?
Pretty lame, I think, to be honest.
I actually,
Yeah.
really, I thought he's
Yeah,
like
no,
the
I
best
agree.
villain across the trilogy. To be honest,
I
I think
I would. I legitimately think both Ego and Ronan are stronger within the context.
really,
of both
that's
movies.
so interesting. Because
Not that Ronan's a strong character, but I think like the function Ronan performs is stronger in that.
I kind of like Ronan the best, which is really
that's
weird.
crazy.
I like his aesthetic. He's just an angry guy, and he's scary. He's a scary, angry guy.
He's scary. He feels like the biggest threat out of all the villains.
Really?
That-
I thought Ego
yeah.
definitely felt like the biggest threat. But like at least from the way you fight him, Ronan feels like the biggest threat. That I agree with. But like the reason why I think I really like High Evolutionary is because I think the present day High Evolutionary kind of sucks. It's like a kind of hollow, you know. It's like
yeah.
this guy
Yeah,
holds
in the
the secret
flashbacks
to
he's
Rocket.
better.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
liked him in his flashback. He seemed like a really fleshed out character where he had this like sickening belief that he can create the next best thing. And I thought like from the flashback to seeing Counter Earth and then seeing how like Counter Earth still has Earth problems. I thought like that entire sequence was great. Then we meet High Evolution in the present day, and he's just like a shell of his former self. Like his former self actually had like a belief. He's like, I want to make things better, and this is my way of doing it. Even though as we can see, like that's a terrible way of doing it. But the present day self, he is just like, he sort of became Ronan without an intimidation factor. He's just an angry guy. He's like, I want my test subject BT something. I want him. Like, he's supposed to be this like sort of like cold, almost like calculated villain, but then ended up just turning into like a rage monster, which is just like the most boring trope. So, like, past High Evolutionary, good. Present High Evolutionary, bad. That's my take.
You hit it. Rage monster. He very, very quickly becomes one note. He starts yelling like the first time we meet him and yells the whole movie. And I think what he needed to be was this might just be like my personal preference, but I kind of think it's a necessity. I think he needs to be colder and detached and just kind of like an analytical, scientific, I don't give a fuck about your feelings kind of person who builds to rage monster. But it's when he's yelling all the time, it's like there's a moment in the third act where he's yelled for the 19th time, and it's supposed to seem like this is a very big yell, and I'm like, no, it's not. You've yelled the whole movie. I don't feel this isn't any different.
I agree. He should. I think that, and to add on that, I think he should be cold, cool, and analytical, except for when it comes to specifically how Rocket makes him feel. because because his entire identity, and this is actually something I like about the movie and the character. His entire identity is that like he is God. He has a really great line actually where he's like, God isn't real, that's why I had to step in, or something like that, which I think is a great line. And Rocket upsets that. Rocket is smarter than him. Rocket was able to
I really like that.
And so he shakes the balance. Rocket fundamentally alters this guy's identity. He is a threat to his beliefs, like in how the world works and what his place in it is. And so I like the idea that Rocket would trigger him and upset him in ways that no one else can. And I also like that the movie, that's present in the movie and that they don't comment on it. But I completely agree with you, is that he also freaks out about everything else. So it's
which is also building on this point, which is why he needs to teach Rocket mechanics.
Yes.
Because if he teaches him and Rocket becomes better than him, that's like the worst possible thing to him. He's got a God complex, and I find it so interesting that he's like it's like this parental fear of like it's what the opposite of a parent should be. Instead of being proud that your child has surpassed you, it's becoming afraid that you've created something better than yourself. It's that like the self-conscious version of that. And like, yeah, man.
Yeah, and it's like, and in that way, like, the High Evolutionary does, and I'll give credit to this, like, he does represent, like, and this is something we've talked about, specifically in reference to Ronan, he represents, like, the antithesis to what the characters need to learn, which is, like to accept themselves and accept things the way they are. And there is something within the High Evolutionary where it's, like, he can't accept himself, and he has gone so down the line of, like, being a really actually like self-loathing character, and I think the movie misses a lot of opportunities to do interesting things with that.
I think also in being an antithesis to other characters, I think another really like obvious fix for something that I didn't like, he's not from Earth, yet he's obsessed with Earth. And you have Star-Lord, who is of Earth and is obsessed with Earth. Just make him from Earth, dude.
I completely agree. I was like, why the hell?
Why the fuck would he want to make counter-Earth? Why would he be obsessed with upgrading Earth animals? Like, literally no other animals except the obelisks. But, like, it's so obvious that he is Peter Quill, but, like, super fucking twisted and, you know, has some different issues. But, like, Peter's afraid of going back to Earth is so perfectly encapsulated in this guy who is obsessed with it. And, like, that fear of going back to Earth, which is also has been fucked up by the Russo brothers, because he does just chill on Earth in Endgame. He's like,
oh, that's true. Oh
this
my
is
God.
fine. Yeah. Whatever. But like,
to be fair though, it's like a mission, and he's there and he's gone. So, in fairness, it's not like a visit. In like, you know, like if you went to war. If you fought in France, you wouldn't be like, yeah, I took a trip to France. Like,
yeah. But yeah, I think he should have been human, and I think that does so many. There's so many like super obvious choices that just open up doors that I don't get. Trying to pick and choose things we haven't talked about. I did talk about that. Did we talk about Starmora?
Yes, we need
talked
to
about
talk about that.
No.
We need
We
to
didn't talk about the relationship, but so this is a compliment I have for the movie, is that I really, really like that they don't try to make Star-Lord and Gamora get back together. It doesn't make sense with who the character is. I think they do a really good thing where Peter has to mature because of this thing. I actually think this is probably one of the better realized arcs in the movie, where Peter has to learn to move on, and he has to like try to find love in a different place and get back to his roots and like learn to be himself again,
and not just find like a new girlfriend. Like he has to actually just like take some time for himself. And like oh my God, when Gamora says, "I bet we were fun," that might have brought me to tears.
That's a great.
That was really nice.
Yeah.
That bit made me really sad when they say goodbye to each other.
And honestly, like, I'm just like, it's one of the things I really like about this movie. It's like, I didn't know about this, by the way, but like I thought like killing off Gamora in Infinity War seemed like such a natural thing, and then I literally learned from you guys that James Gunn wasn't aware this was going down in Infinity War.
So
then
I I will actually amend that statement, and that I've seen in interviews since James Gunn was actually considering killing Gamora in Guardians 2.
I didn't hear that, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
Okay.
that is
Bad
very
choice.
strange. So like,
Yeah.
it's not true that it was completely out of his mind that she dies.
Okay.
But
Yeah. I also
But like,
think
it was the Russo's decision to kill up Gamora in Infinity War.
I
It was
think
not
so,
James Gunn's, right?
I think in support of the Russo brothers, which is not something I usually do, killing Gamora in Infinity War was a great idea.
Yeah, it was a great
It does
idea.
work well.
Great
in
idea.
Infinity,
It's because I just watched Infinity War actually, and it's gonna be in my Rex if we ever get to it. But the moment when she dies, I was actually like kind of sick, because like not physically, like
Yeah.
because like she fucking like dies like a normal person. She falls from a cliff and bonks her head so hard that green blood spills out, and I was like sickened by that. 'Cause
Dude,
that's like a
Infinity War
visceral
does that
death.
though. No.
Infinity
It
War
was a
great.
good movie. I really
It's
liked
great.
it.
When
No, I'm
when
on the
Thanos
train.
did the time
Yeah,
stone
you're-
thing,
oh, yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
oh my
Really
god,
good.
like what the fuck? You got to,
Eh.
like it felt like a illegal move. But anyways, going
Okay.
back to this movie. Going back to this
an
movie,
illegal-
like I just think like it's so impressive that James was sort of dealt a bad hand because he wasn't really involved in killing off Gamora in Infinity War, and he managed to salvage it in such a graceful way.
It's so good.
To
It's so good.
to have like both of them be true to their characters at that spot, even though it's sort of inconsistent with their past Guardian selves, and still have a really sweet arc between the two. So just shout out to James.
Honestly, I think this makes for a more interesting Guardians 3.
No, absolutely.
Because we were
Yeah.
talking about this already, but I want to move on to a different point.
Yeah.
Lots of characters seemingly died or were about to die. There was one that like I really have a problem with. So, preface, Rocket was basically like marketed as we're gonna kill the raccoon. Watch this movie. Watch us kill this raccoon. And at some point, I think I said to Peter, like in the up to the release, I was like, I don't think they're gonna kill him, and my reasoning was they're hyping it up too much. When they do this, they always subvert expectations. When you say this character's gonna die in bright letters, no, they don't. That never happens. It's always like that's the key to subverting is the character you think is gonna die doesn't, and the one you think is gonna live dies. So I called it, Peter. I called it. Anyways, the one that I like, this scene makes me like really angry is when Star-Lord is about to die.
Yeah, I don't like
Because
that either.
It and seeing it the second time, I was madder than I was the first time.
Dude, and it's space again.
It's space
I swear
again.
to God.
It's
Yeah,
kind
they
of
have a
like
real obsession with people
it's-
going out into space and
it's really tired at this point, and it seems like they're really trying to make you think he dies because he's stuck, and they're like, no. Groot's like doing the tendrils, and then they like pump up his fucking face to
Yeah.
look like this grotesque thing, and I'm like, oh, so you fucking killed him. It feels so mean-spirited too.
yes, and it's very unceremonious, and it's like
Yes.
because I was like, okay, there's no way he dies like this, but also he's clearly dead. I'm looking at him dead. His face just puffed up.
It's unceremonious for a character we care about who was up until this movie the main character of this franchise, and also like he dies for like the dumbest fucking reason. He's going after the Zune, an object he does not have nostalgia for. It's not like he's going after the mixtape in the first movie. This does not have a connection to his mother. It has a
he's
connection
giving it
his
to
family,
He's,
sort of.
he's getting it to give it to Rocket.
And we don't learn that until
that's what the
later.
reason is.
But like
Yeah.
it just like that is not a good enough reason for him to be like, oh, I need to get the Zoom. Oh no, I dropped it. Like, like it feels.
That's not what my problem is. My problem is that like I think that's an emotionally manipulative moment.
Yes,
'cause,
it's
like,
a manipulative moment.
They
Absolutely.
they try to like convince you he dies not by building up to that kind of plot point, by just but by just showing him dead. It's like if you walked up to the character and showed him like getting a bullet to the head and being like, just kidding.
Like they kingpinned him. They kingpinned him from Hawkeye. Like we fucking shot him. No, but worse. Like I actually wrote in my notes. This is what I wrote. Like he's really dead. He's actually so fucking dead.
Yeah.
Psych. Like that's what that moment feels like, and that is like textbook manipulative.
And the funniest thing is, like, he actually was exposed in space for a very long time, and then he's just fine.
Like, he's
I swear
actually
to God,
fucking
every
dead.
single movie, it's inconsistent. Like in the first one, like when Peter was trying to save Gamora, like Gamora was in space for a long ass time, and then Peter had to come out his pod, take off his mask, put it on her, all that shit. She was fine, and he was fine. And then second one, Yondu died so fucking fast, bro. Like you see the blood coming out his eyes. And then in this one, Peter was in space for like 5 minutes, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? Actually, Adam Warlock, superhuman, is fine."
And
Just
like,
needs a hug from Adam Warlock. That's all.
Warlock doesn't even fucking do anything. Like, I thought he was gonna use his magic Jesus powers, and he just like, that's not the Jesus powers. He was just reaching to them.
Dude, the finger touching thing, like that's referring to the painting, right?
Yeah, no fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like
it was so
that
obvious.
was silly. That was too silly for me.
Dumb as fuck. I hate this movie. I have another manipulative moment. I think Aiden might be able to hear us. He has stepped away, but
I can hear you.
he confirmed. He shouted. He can. So another manipulative moment, I think, is when Rocket's tree friends die. This might be controversial, but it's a flashback, and at least the way they do it, the way they execute, I think it's a moment that kind of needs to happen, but like, I don't like the execution of that scene, the execution scene, where he's escaped, he's like, guys, we escaped, we need to go right now, and then just like, gunshot, and I'm like,
I disagree with you there.
I thought that was
that's
fine.
false to me. I don't know.
That's to me. That's a good dramatic tension moment to me, where it's like they have to get like on the edge of escaping for that moment to like feel really special.
Yeah.
And I don't think they die. They don't die in like I mean, getting shot in the head is brutal, but like, it's not like we see them all get cut to pieces or whatever, because that would be like, what the fuck is happening? It's also that we know they're gonna die. Like the entire time you see them, there's literally a scene where they're like, it's so good that we're all friends. Like we know they're gonna die the entire time, so it's not like the Peter thing where it's just like out of nowhere they're like, what if Peter died here? You know what I mean?
That one is a different level, but I almost wonder if I would have liked it more. Not necessarily if it would be better, but if they got a little bit closer to escaping. Like they barely step out of their cages and they're gunned down. I kind of like the idea of them actually seeing the sky and then being like, Sky.
Yeah,
like,
that might be better. Yeah,
like because when she's
cool.
like Sky, I'm like,
cool, actually, yeah.
Really, just the ceiling. Like I like the, like I always think it's more bittersweet when they have the taste of they taste the air for the first time and then they die. You know, like something more like that.
Yeah.
But what else can we talk about? I'm trying to skip as many of these as possible. I hate tribes of children. Like when movies introduce large groups of children, I want to tear my hair out.
Dude, that's a personal take. You don't
I think that is
a group.
I'd never have a big problem with that.
I always find that they speak in unison. It's the same thing they did in Thor 4, and I personally watched it recently in Mad Max 3. I find tribes of children, and like children can't act as good.
But dude, I thought it was fine with this one though. I felt like they gave like Drax like because Drax has always been like the guy who doesn't get the references, or like the bruiser, right? But like we see like a tender side of Drax that's like because like usually when he's tender he's funny, right? But like in this one he's actually tender because he has this fatherly love that like no one in the group is capable of, because none of them were dads.
I get the point.
Yeah.
What? Like I honestly think like it's just a trope that I don't like, is groups of children.
Sure.
I honestly think it works just as well, if not better, if there's one kid. Why does there need to be so many? Have the prototype because
the empty and sparse nowhere we see in the beginning is now populated and full of life and youth and wonder. Like I think that is what the idea is, and like maybe you get there better. But
I think you can populate. That's kind of a silly reason to like. We're putting the children in there to populate nowhere. That seems like a
no. I agree. It's not.
You've
it's
set
not
up.
strong.
You know, like I think there are other people who can fill it, but like I think if you just have the Phyla character, have her be the prototype for the new generation of things that are going to be better, and then you have this character who's obviously going to be on the next Guardians team because she's the only one. Instead, it's like this random kid of 100, and you can have that personal connection. This can be like a Drax fatherly connection, and introduce her earlier maybe, and then it's not so like suddenly there's kids in the third act.
Yeah, no, and that speaks
random.
it speaks to a larger problem that we've already talked about extensively, where it's like it's just too much of random thing is suddenly a part of the movie, like thing that wasn't set up from the beginning is just now there.
Speaking of random thing,
but I will say just very very quick, I actually love the Drax dad thing.
Like, me too. I thought it was really cool.
I love the Mantis line to him where it's like you're not meant to be a destroyer, you're meant to be a dad. I actually really like that.
I like that in theory. I think that's a good end to his arc, but I don't think the execution is there because he doesn't. It seems sudden. Like
that is true. I did
suddenly.
Know that.
Suddenly there are kids around me, and I will be a dad. You know, if you introduce the kid earlier, like if they go to Counter Earth and they discover her sooner, and then he can build that relationship, and then Mantis can comment on that. Hey, you know what? This side of you is much better than the destroy side.
And the destruction of Counter-Earth means so much more if this character that we have a personal connection with and our main characters have a personal connection with has having her home destroyed. Yeah, that is better.
Speaking of random shit in this movie, the 3 obelisks straight out of like Game of Thrones shit. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are they there?
Yeah. The squids.
Oh, remember when Mantis becomes Queen of Squids? Like, you know what I mean? And they're all riding them. I was like, dude, it's not. I hate it.
It's another example of like now this is happening. This thing's happening. Now this is happening. They go to prison and now they're being lowered into the thing and there are giant squids there and they try to escape, but the squids are nice. Like
it's just it's very. I think, what's the word? It's very expected. Like, they're not going to get killed off by squids. So, like, the only way out is that they tame them.
It's like a false threat, I guess.
Yeah.
My main problem is just that it's random shit that's just being tossed in there.
That was the moment I checked out in the last time I saw this movie. I was like, okay, right, this part. And I was like, I realized that I wasn't paying attention anymore because I think the third act is by far the weakest of the acts in this movie. I don't like all the kid. We just introduced so much. There's a tribe of children. There's 3 obelisks and an entire Noah's Ark worth of animals, and we have to save every single one. And I'm like,
I like the animals though. I think the idea of the animals there that feels.
If that was the only thing, right? Yeah. Like if it's one kid and all of the animals. That works.
Yeah.
It's too much. There's too much in the one movie. We've said this, but I'm trying to pick and choose. I don't like when the Guardians kill everybody in that hallway. It feels not like them. The Guardians have never been murderers who kill and slay people. Right? They've never
Aren't they killers in the first one?
Yeah, and then there's like lay down your arms, you can go. The spaceship's about to collapse. Don't fight. Yeah.
There's some.
It's never been so visceral,
It's like a
there's some movements of sheer brutality in this movie that are like, what the fuck? Like when Peter and Groot like brutally kill the doctor guy, that is an insane moment. This
is what I'm saying. This is directed by the guy who did the Suicide Squad. These all feel like the Suicide Squad characters.
I think more importantly, it's directed by the guy who used to make like raunchy, edgy comedy movies. Yeah. Like I think that's like it's more that. Yeah.
He's been let loose, right? Like he was kind of confined by Disney, maybe for the better in some ways, because not that
there's something wrong with making like raunchy movies, but
no,
I don't know if it fits this.
Yeah, like it feels like he's been let loose. And he feels like he can do what he wants now and like the Suicide Squad worked. Anyways, it just feels like those are the actions of a character, like a different group of characters. I don't. It's a scene that feels like, yeah, isn't this badass? They're all family and they're all killing everybody, and like I didn't feel that way. I was like, no, this feels not. This is not the Guardians that I know. They don't do this. They don't fucking kill people, you know. Also,
yeah, I don't know. I didn't really have a big problem with that. And what I will say in compliment of that scene is that I've grown very critical of the Oner scene, and I actually think, but I think it's a decently woven together one. I actually like it. I like the way it's constructed. Whereas there are other examples that are not good.
Because they do the framing thing. There's like the shot where Rocket jumps up in the air. That's one frame. You've done it. You know, like.
Yeah,
it's
and then the path, the camera has a logical path to the next frame and the next frame. Yeah,
it's well executed. I'll give it that. I also think that in the same vein, when Rocket first encounters the Hellspawn, he's like terrified and also like feels that kind of guilt. I don't understand why he's okay with killing them, because they are what he is basically, right?
Yeah,
they're more.
What do you mean by Hellspawn?
I think this movie is a little like morally confused, where it's like on the one hand it's about let's save everyone, and which I think is great. Like the idea, like one of the things I legitimately love about this movie is that the ending is an ending where everybody gets to live. I actually think that's a great way to end this, but some things get to be brutally killed along the way.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. They're not the slayers of the galaxy. They're the guardians of the galaxy, which is why I don't like the hallway fight. And I think that him fighting this Hellspawn makes no sense. And also...
Who's the Hellspawn?
The monsters. The monsters at the end who are rocket raccoons but scary.
Oh, it's like the pig with the
gun
and the rocket. Yeah.
It's like, and it's so easy, guys.
Because if Adam gets to live, like why, you know?
Yeah, it's so easy, guys. If we're taking out the obelisks, just have Mantis connect with one of the Hellspawn. You know, she's like, oh, they're just afraid of us, or oh, you know, like the scary monster has feelings. It almost feels like that was the idea the whole time, and then it didn't work, so they had to change course and add a new thing. Because like, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you realize that the Hellspawn have feelings and then have them populate nowhere if you got to do that, you know?
Yeah, or maybe there maybe is a version where you establish that they have actually been contorted in the vision of the High Evolutionary to such a degree where it's like they actually like there's no essence of like what they are left anymore. You know what I mean?
Sad.
In which case, which is very sad, but I think at that point, and I think if you just address that, like you tackle that sadness head on, I actually think that made this movie stronger. And then I also think it means you can kill them. If like
okay, guys, you can kill them. Go ahead. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. What else can we talk about? Rocket Raccoon, the raccoon moment. Great. Love it. I love that this was like set up the whole series and finally get that payoff. Love it.
I'm not a raccoon.
Yeah, I love it when a movie can tell us a thing we know and we cheer for it. We're just like, that's what he is. He's Rocket Raccoon.
I'm a Rocket Raccoon.
But you know what didn't work for me though? It's when Gamora was like, when Groot's like, I'm Groot. Gamora was like, I know who you are, or like, I know your name. Like that joke actually didn't work for me.
No, I actually like that a lot because it's
you
like she doesn't. Because she doesn't understand the Guardians.
Yeah, but like I feel like
she's not his
it might
friend
just be
anymore.
seeing it in the trailer
character
beforehand, but like
joke.
I didn't laugh in the theater when that happened.
What can you say? Character motivated jokes, and when she understands him at the end, it works.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Really
That
works.
was sweet.
It's nice.
That was sweet. I agree. Yeah.
I have to say though, right after the Rocket Raccoon moment, when everyone's beating up the High Evolutionary, I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" Do you remember that? It's really hard to follow.
It's also quick. It's so quick. Like and that's what I mean. Where High Evolutionary isn't a threat. And I agree that works if he was never supposed to be a physical threat, and it was just the problem the whole movie was that they couldn't get to him because he was so well guarded by Adam and whatever, and now they've got him alone. Like, I agree that like that's better, but he's supposed to be a physical threat here, and they just deal with him like that.
Isn't it so much better if they say like if Rocket's like okay, if they're all wailing on him and Rocket's like, no guys, we have to be better. and like because he's normal, like he would die at their hands because they're like super powerful people. Maybe he has like a bit of tech, like I've been promoting. Like I think he should be tech based. Then he can like kind of withstand them a bit for a few seconds at least, you know.
Dude, I thought you were. I thought you were really against teching everything. I thought that's your main gripe.
No, I said nanotech. Nanotech.
Oh,
it's just an aesthetic
gotcha.
of how people suit up. I don't like. So I don't like Nebula's arm.
I'm completely cool with them straight up killing the evolutionary. He deserves to die.
Fair enough.
In the
That is
context
true.
of the movie, he deserves to die. He is beyond saving for
He fucking
sure.
sucks. Yeah, no.
And so yeah, like I am completely fine with them all coming together and killing him.
Okay.
Fair enough. He can be the
Yeah.
guy who goes out in space this time.
Sure.
Actually, that would have been
Yeah.
great if they killed
Yeah,
someone
that
with
would have been a great
space
ending if
for
they
once.
killed someone. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, we should have written Guardians 3.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Dude, that's so funny. That would be like there were so many ejection kills.
Yeah.
in,
Okay, I'm wrapping it
in
up.
Marvel.
Groot
Yeah.
talks now, and I hate that so much.
I don't
No,
like it.
No, that's not.
It
not what
worked
that moment
in the
is. I
moment,
love
but
that
then-
moment.
Is
You
it
like
them
that?
understanding him?
It's
Is
them.
it just-
No, it's that
and
we
us?
understand him.
I
We,
still
as the
don't like it.
audience, have been with Groot so long that we understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
He canonically in the thing said, "I
says
am Groot."
I am Groot.
Yeah.
I thought that maybe that was the case, but I still.
That would be cool, actually. That's
I
It's
really
just
like
so,
it. I actually
to
really
me,
like
it's just so weird. I'm like, nah.
yeah,
fam.
like it worked for me in the moment. In the moment, I was like, "That's sick," but then when you're thinking back to it, it's like, yeah, might not be the best thing for Groot to say.
Actually, guys, easy fix.
'Cause, like-
Easy fix. Let me have him say I am Groot and give it a subtitle. We've never seen the subtitle, and if we get the subtitle, I don't have to hear
Maybe.
him say weird
Maybe.
words that
Yeah.
I don't like. I don't have to hear Vin Diesel say "I love you guys." It feels
I will
like
say
Fast and Furious.
he sounds the most like Vin Diesel in that moment, which
It
is
sounds like a
weird
Fast
thing.
and Furious movie. Anyways, I didn't like the dance party, but Aiden likes the dance party.
I like the dance party.
We don't have to get into.
I like the needle drop there too, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's not for me.
Whatever.
And now the Guardians are doing new things. I have to say, this new lineup, I could care less about.
I
I don't know
love
if they're
the new
making more
lineup.
movies about it. I hope they don't make more standalone Guardians. I think it's done.
I don't think there's enough star power there, like both as actors and as characters. I don't care
And
about
as-
those
yeah,
characters.
the IP is not because it's just Rocket, but Rocket in the context of that team is kind of weird. Yeah.
Like Kraglin is the next closest, and I'm like, I don't care about Kraglin at all, really. Kraglin was kind of fun as a comedic side part, but
Yeah.
and then everyone else is new, if I'm not mistaken.
Other than Groot, but yeah.
I don't give a
Yeah,
fuck
I
about that
agree.
team
Dude,
at all.
I'm
over
I'm
it.
giving you my prediction right now. Disney Plus series
I think for
for the
Star
roster.
Lord.
No, for the roster. For the
No,
roster.
I'm telling you, I think Star Lord gets the series.
For
I think
what?
because they said, what did they say at the end? The legendary Star Lord returns. He's building
Return
a
where? What's he gonna do,
series.
man?
On Disney Plus. That's what I'm saying. I think it's on Disney Plus. That's my guess.
Like as a comedy series? Like what is Star Lord
I don't
doing
know.
on Earth?
I don't know. I think he has
Fuck
to spend
that
some
shit.
time
I
on
ain't
Earth.
watching that.
As if there isn't tons of like supernatural shit for him to do on Earth. What are you talking about? It's the MCU.
Supernatural. Is he
Not
gonna
supernatural, but like no, not supernatural.
He's
Like
like,
you know, like big space stuff. I don't know,
be like no, I
sci-fi
agree.
stuff.
I think he needs to spend time on Earth. Clearly, they have plans for him if he's gonna return. They bothered putting the title up there, you know.
Yeah.
Anyways, if we didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy, I truly believe that MCU is fucked. I don't know that there's.
Dude,
coming
I like
back to
this movie. I didn't
I like
hate
this
this
movie
movie.
You like it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've
that's for
gone
me
through my
then.
whole thing criticizing it, but I genuinely really like it.
Yeah, it definitely has problems, but like I enjoyed my viewing experience. So
At the end of the day, for me, it's the same thing where it's like this feels like it was made by a human being, and I really liked watching it at the end of the day.
yeah, same.
I think this was like my one franchise that was really keeping me to the MCU. Like even watching Infinity War yesterday, I watched it for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like that's why I rewatched it, was because I wanted to see it before I watched 3 again, and I just love these characters so much. And then this movie like just didn't work for me. I don't have much else tethering me to the MCU is what I'm saying.
Oh,
you know?
neither do I. And I wasn't even excited for this movie until we rewatched the first two, and I was like, man, these are pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, good. No, I agree. I'm not excited for the rest of the MCU. No way.
Yeah. I mean,
so what is the lineup right now? So next one is the Marvels, right?
This year we'll have the Marvels, Secret Invasion, Loki, and Echo. Echo's all dropping at
Holy
once.
fuck, that's so much.
Yeah, I know.
That's so much stuff.
And they said they're dropping Echo all at once instead of the weekly model because they think people aren't going to watch it, which I get it because no one knows who Echo is, but that's also sad and also means people aren't going to grow to love it. They're just going to forget about it.
Yeah, why are they like treating projects like that? That's shit. Wait, so what about major releases after the Marvels? What's the next film?
There is not a the next film is not until next year, and I don't know what it is.
They got the Blade movie that's in development now.
Well, it's not being developed right now. It's on pause, isn't it?
Captain America's in the works. What is even filming right now? Like
Captain America's filming. I know that.
Okay, well then maybe that is next. I don't know. Thunderbolts.
Bro, that's not a very exciting lineup, to be honest.
No, it's not.
Thunderbolts, Blade. Yeah.
MCU has overstayed its welcome. Also, it's fucked. Like, Kang is gonna be like an issue just behind the scenes. It's just they tried. It worked really well for 10 years, and then a combination of factors it's imploding. It's not working. So.
Crazy.
Anyways, I think we're finished talking about this movie, yeah?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, Predator versus movies. Aiden, sorry, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, this podcast this podcast is called Predator versus Movies. This podcast is Predator versus Movies. So this is where we ask the question, would this movie be better if the Predator from the movie Predator was in it?
3, 2, 1. No! Okay, next segment. Predator's picks. I watched some things. I watched Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. It was okay. I watched Sisu. Didn't care for it. I watched Peter Pan, the original. Racist. Very racist. I watched The Wonder, the Netflix movie with Florence Pugh. Surprisingly good. I watched The Stranger. Neat aesthetic. Could have used more to it. I watched Peter Gabriel's filmed tour, Secret World. Pretty good. I like the music. Not as good as Stop Making Sense. I rewatched I still need to rewatch a little bit more of James Acaster's comedy series. This is like, I need to wreck this so hard. This is, as far as I know, not a very popular one. James Acaster is a British comedian, I think. He's on like one of those shows like Taskmaster or something.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And he's got a 4-part comedy series. Each is 50 minutes, and it seems to be filmed all from the same day. Like, he does a 50-minute set, changes the set, changes his clothes, does 50 minutes, intermission, 50 minutes, break, 50 minutes, and it's all one thing because they reference each other. Truly one of the funniest stand-up series I've ever seen in my life. Cannot recommend that enough. It is called Repertoire, I believe. James Acaster's Repertoire. It's on Netflix. Maybe even funnier than like the classic John Mulaney stand-ups, Bo Burnham. Those are the other ones that I like. So this is kind of giving you a taste profile, I guess. I also like Nate Bargatze, but he's not really the same. Anyways, cannot recommend that enough. I rewatched Infinity War. That movie fucking slaps. Totally works.
Yeah,
probably
one of the best MCU movies.
Yeah, I'm gonna revalue it in my lineup, my scoring, ranking. That's the word. Probably gonna be in top 5.
Dude, it might just be my favorite MCU film. Like, it might just be.
I don't know if I'd call it my favorite, but it just works so well.
And it's like it's an impressive achievement in writing. That's a very hard movie to pull off, and they do.
Wait, Aiden, where do you place it on your ranking?
I don't know. I don't have it. It's top 5 for sure. Top 3
top
probably.
5? Okay.
Yeah. It could be my third, after Guardians 1 and 2. Anyways, I rewatched Step Brothers because I remember people saying they like people love that movie, and I've seen it before, and I thought it was okay. I think it's okay.
Nice.
There's just something that it doesn't work for me. I don't think
The comedies of that era, I find I often don't like.
Well, it's also by the head perpetrator. I can't remember his name right now. What's his name? Fuck. Who's the director?
Judd Apatow?
Judd Apatow. Is it?
Yeah.
Right? Step Brothers. I'm just gonna make sure I'm not telling a lie. No. Oh, sorry. It's Adam McKay. I was wrong.
Oh,
it's
really?
Adam McKay,
Oh.
who is also like
Yeah.
second. Judd Apatow and
Yeah.
Adam McKay are like the same. They do the same movies. You're making a face right now of distaste, and that is
Adam
exactly
McKay puts a bad taste in my mouth. I won't
that
lie
is
to you.
exactly what I'm talking about. It is not that good of a movie, and I've realized that it's just not for me. And then who did
Although, he did The Other Guys. Is that the movie? I think The Other Guys might be hilarious if it's the movie I'm thinking of. Is that the one where
Will Ferrell
it's like? Is that the one where The Rock and the other
That's
guy
one
died?
good moment. I still
but that
think
is that
it's
is
funny.
so fucking funny.
It's a funny
Like,
moment. Yeah. I still can't tell. Oh, okay, I like the 40-Year-Old Virgin, but that is Judd Apatow,
Okay.
so I do like that one at least. But
I like Freaks and Geeks, which is Judd Apatow. It's a great show.
I haven't seen it yet. Anyways, I don't think Step Brothers is very good. That's my hot take. Where was I? I think only other thing is Beef. Thank you. You're reading my list. I finished Beef. Beef is a great series. It's not without flaws. I don't think it's perfect, but the ending made me go like, wow. I also read somewhere that people were complimenting the score, and I was like, facts, man, because every episode ends with a banger straight from the 2000s, and like single-handedly made me want to like re-explore that era of music, and that's like pretty much all I'm listening to right now is 2000s and Hoobastank. The pilot is great. Go watch the pilot. I'm done.
Cool. Okay, for my picks, so I've been continuing to watch The Wire. This is definitely like becoming one of my favorite shows ever. Like, I finished season 3 just recently. This show continues to evolve. It continues to feel thematically in line with the other seasons, while also building on with new ideas and just like doing things you wouldn't expect, being really inventive. I will incorporate so much of the camera work of this show into my projects, which is something that is not true about a lot of shows I watch, where the camera, the Wire has such a distinct visual style that works so well. And that's a great show. I recommend it to everyone. I recently watched a movie, a Tubi original called Shark Side of the Moon.
Not a Tubi original.
So yeah,
did it film here?
No, it
Did
did not
Shark
film. No,
Shut
but
up.
it's if you look up Shark on Tubi, there are like a million of these movies. There's
Oh my god! I think I saw your review.
I'm trying to remember them, but like one of them in the same vein was Bigfoot versus the Illuminati that we saw. There was like there's so many. I'm forgetting. One of the ones was hilarious. Like Shark Side of the Moon is there. There's like just shark ripoffs of other movies. But yeah, so the basic plot of this movie is that during the Cold War era, Russia created these half human, half shark hybrids. And then but then they get out and they're too powerful, and so they send them to the moon. And then so fast forward to modern era. The Americans.
Of course, fast forward. We have to do a fast forward because then it wouldn't make sense. Otherwise,
fast forward to the modern era. Americans are going to the moon. They go to the moon. They encounter the shark people as well as some humans that went with the sharks and are living as stragglers and have there's one woman who's a half shark, half human hybrid, but looks like a human. And this movie, it's actually bizarre because for the first 20 minutes or so, not bad. Legitimately, obviously, the CG of the sharks is immediately wow, that's bad. But it's the sets look pretty good, especially the spaceship set is actually it's pretty decent. This is filmed pretty decent. As soon as they go out onto the moon, it's wow. It's some of the worst green screen you've ever seen. It's the plot becomes incomprehensible, whereas before it actually makes sense. And I don't know if I want to spoil it or not, but the ending of this movie is the most deranged thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, what
life.
happened
Like,
in the final 5 minutes? I'm so
okay,
curious.
do you guys want me to spoil
Yeah,
it?
do
I did
it.
not watching this.
Okay, so, okay, let me try to remember the events that happened. So, the ship that the Americans came with had been hijacked by the community of space shark people, and
Obviously.
they were going back. But some of our humans escaped by jumping off the ship and going back to the moon. There are these
Okay.
giant
Okay.
like worm sharks on the moon that, like, without any setup, our main characters are swallowed by one of these worm sharks, and then a volcano goes off on the moon.
What?
And in the belly of the giant worm shark, our main characters are flown back to Earth through space, and then they land in the ocean. And suddenly they're on a raft that was, I guess, supposedly in the belly of the space shark, because they just are in a raft now. And so it's like the captain, it's the half shark woman, and it's like one other guy. They're all happy, and then out of nowhere, the shark woman starts like, "Oh, what's going on?" She's pregnant. She gives birth on the raft to a shark hybrid, and they're like super powerful, and they can't get to Earth. And then she's like, "Sorry, I have to be with my babies." She dives into the water. Suddenly there are about 20 more half-shark hybrids that are babies, and we don't know where they came from. And our main characters are just like, "No, we're fucked." And then it cuts to black and we're out.
What?
And everything I described is the last like 5 to 7 minutes of the movie.
Wait,
All
so it
of that
doesn't end.
occurred.
The movie doesn't end. There's no ending.
So Aiden, you have to tell me, when are you working on Shark Side of the Moon 2? You're making
when's
it,
the
right?
sequel coming
You're
out?
Yeah,
writing and directing the sequel? I imagine
think
you are.
If a movie like that was filming in Winnipeg, I would fight tooth and fucking claw to work on it. I would want
It's
to work
like,
on that
that's your
so
shit.
hard.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So wait, you're telling me that Shark Side of the Moon is not a cover band of Pink Floyd by Shark?
No.
Okay.
No.
That would have
It
been
is
my
not.
first guess.
I wish I could remember some of the other titles, because one of the other ones is hilarious.
That's insane.
But
Anyways,
crazy.
okay.
let's keep...
I watched some movies that are all at least supposedly good. I watched Lost in Translation. I think that movie is racist and mean. I thought it was
Oh.
bad.
I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much to say to that. I think that, like, even if you ignore the racism in this movie, which is the basis of, like, a lot of the comedy, like, in order to laugh at a lot of what's happening, you have to be like, haha, Japanese people. And then...
That sounds right from what I remember.
Yeah, and then also it's just mean-spirited. Everyone that isn't the specific type of person that Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray's characters are presented as like bumbling idiots who are deservedly like made fun of all the time. Like it's just a mean movie. And I also don't think I like Bill Murray. I don't like him in this movie, and I'm reevaluating if I like him in anything.
It's a post-divorce movie, so maybe that's part of why there's that mean-spiritedness generally. Also, maybe you're not supposed to like Bill Murray because that one comes from the female side of the divorce. It's Sofia Coppola's movie, so she might.
No, you are supposed to like both those characters, because I was considering that, like, but it's like maybe there's like an awareness here that it's like, yeah, our characters are just kind of dicks and they judge people and they kind of like find commonality in that, but we're supposed to be like, okay, they're being dicks, but like, no, the movie presents them like, because the characters they're making fun of are presented as if they're idiots and they deserve to be made fun of. Like Anna Faris's character in this movie does nothing wrong and is presented as if like she's a bumbling idiot that deserves to be like trounced. Like it's stupid. I
Bill
did not
Murray.
like that movie.
I don't think Bill Murray's a good person necessarily because I've heard bad things about him, but I do like him. I like his performance in Ghostbusters. I think he's.
I like
funny in that
Ghostbusters.
movie.
I'll give you that.
Ghostbusters is a good movie.
Okay.
Anyways.
Also watched The Woman King. I thought this movie was pretty good.
Really?
I didn't care.
Yeah, I thought like there are things that I don't like about it. It's very historically inaccurate. For example, like the Maid Kingdom, in fact, briefly considered not operating in the slave trade, but then just doubled right down on it. So kind of a strange
strange
story.
The love, not love triangle. The Fuck, the
With
romance subplot with the slave trader. Did you like that part?
Yeah, and I think that's stupid, and I think that it's weird. Like, they do go out of their way to be like, no, he's not a slave trader.
Right?
He's just with the slave traders. And it's like,
He's just
okay, man.
He's just associated with that.
Dude, I find it really.
But I don't know.
hard
There's some really good directing in that movie actually, and some really cool like set design, some really cool costume design.
No, I agree. But
also,
I find it really difficult to root for anyone in that film. Like I wasn't feeling the connection at all.
Oh really? I mean, within the I think you're rooting for Viola Davis. Like, I was like definitely. I don't think it was like a really bad movie if I can ignore like some of the questionable morals of it. But like, my last thing, I said this in my Letterboxd review. I like John Boyega, but at no point watching this movie was I thinking that he was not a modern man. I was like, this is a man who has been on Twitter and has seen all. Like, maybe that's just
he just looks too hip.
Once you've been in Star Wars, you can't come back.
He looks too hip.
I don't know. But okay, I also watched an incredible fucking movie. I watched Ran, directed by Akira Kurosawa. Striking visual language, incredible grasp of movement within film. All of this is well known, but very fully on display here. The use of of telephoto lenses, which I think is like most, if not all, of the movie, is really incredible here. Great story, great kind of like epic. I really don't have much to say to this. I just recommend it to everyone. Great movie, sick ass opening. One of like, awesome movie. Other movie I watched was David Cronenberg's Crash, another incredible movie. I thought. Okay. I think that like, I fucking loved this. Like the playing with the idea of like the malleability of the human body and like discovering that. Like, if you hear what the movie's about, you might like be initially perturbed and be like, oh, this is just like stupid, perverted, whatever. But it's actually, I think it's a really intelligent and compelling movie. So. Those are my recs. Those are my picks.
Yeah, I only asked because I've heard mixed things about Crash, and so I wasn't sure if I should watch it or not. And I would
check it out. I don't know. I have no idea how you'd feel about it, but I think it would be great. I think it's great personally.
Peter, do you have any recs?
No recs.
No, even in 3 weeks.
Yeah, actually, I've been very busy. So,
yeah, and I know you were trying to be out of this quick, so we'll wrap it up. Next week, we have no idea what we're going to do, but some potential options to maybe water your taste buds are How to Blow Up a Pipeline. We might revisit it. Master Gardener comes out this week. Sanctuary comes out this week. Blackberry, I think, is already out. The Little Mermaid, I don't know, but that is also coming out next week. And You Hurt My Feelings comes out next week with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. If you like us, check us out on Instagram and Twitter at PredatorVMovies. If you like my thoughts on movies, check me out on Letterboxd at _AlexGordon_. I leave reviews. They're getting longer. I'm taking more time for that. Aiden?
You can also follow me on Letterboxd. I'm 810sunny. That's 810 SONNY. My name is Wombo. I am also starting. I will probably not be adding stuff actually in the next little bit because I'll also be very busy. But I've also been leaving more reviews instead of just like ratings recently. So yeah.
Look at us. Yeah.
Professional reviewers.
Peter, you got anything to plug?
No plugs. What the hell?
Holy shit!
You know what that means? You know what that means? Okay, so the viewers are contractually obligated to give us a 5-star review on everything that they are watching or listening to us on, whether that be Spotify, YouTube, whatever the hell it is.
Tell us what you think. Give us a like. Unless it's something you don't like, then only like. Anyways, until next week, I think that's it, right? I've covered everything.
I think we're good.
Until next week, I'm Alex.
I'm Peter.
I'm Aiden.
And this was Predator vs. Movies. Sorry for taking so long. Pew, 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 pew.